So this right here is the 2023 Halloween collection for Idea-ology, and it's really good. And here's the thing to note about this particular collection. Out of this year's release, only 4 items came back from last year as is. Only 4. And those 4 would be classics, of course, when it comes to making for Halloween. We have Idea-ology mummy cloth. Now, if you're not familiar with this stuff, mummy cloth is like this, it's kind of this gauzy stuff, but you can see the weave is much bigger than gauze, and it has a cream finish to it. And sometimes you can't really tell in the packaging. This is a favorite. Makers use it year round. It only comes out at Halloween. But what's cool about this is that you can color this, so you can stain it. It takes distress ink, oxide, any kind of ink sprays really well. It's porous, but you can see that it has a wonderful tattered effect to it because it's just very loose. And so it allows you to go in and see easily, just shred it and peel it. So a lot of makers use these little threads on things. A lot of makers will use this edge. If you want to stiffen it, you can take collage medium and put that over this. Some people even use hairspray, but it's a wonderful substrate to work with. So I just wanted to give a little close up on mummy cloth. So happy that it comes back. And there's things that just come back because they are standard, right? The next one, tiny lights. Now we have tiny lights in the Idea-ology everyday line. Those would be just the white lights, or the clear lights, if you will. For Halloween, we do purple and green, and then for Christmas, we do multicolored. And the cool thing about these tiny lights is that they are battery operated. They come with batteries, but more importantly, they have a switch that activates them to turn them on and off. When you get them, you have to pull out this little battery tab, and then you can turn these on and off. So this is the green set. The batteries are replaceable. You can just pop this open and replace the batteries if you need to, but I think it's the switch function. Here's the purple ones. The purple ones are really cool. Really bright, and you can trim these to size. We'll talk a little bit more about tiny lights later on. And you don't have to put that battery thing back in. I have mine marked, but those are little dots. This is how they come. So tiny lights, of course, came back. Then we've got bubbles. These are clear. They look like marbles, but they're clear acrylic. They have no holes in them. They're perfect because you can alcohol ink these if you want different colors. So you're going to see in the makes that you can create everything from bubbling cauldrons. These are also beautiful at Christmas. So even though they only come out for Halloween, keep Christmas in mind because they make beautiful snowballs. If you use glossy accents and rock candy glitter, they become very icy because of their translucent core. Paula, I know one year made apples out of them. She alcohol inked them red and then glued little sticks on the top to do apples and use it in the Idea-ology barrel. Unbelievable. And then, of course, the classics, drippy candles, and a shout out to Tami B. She was the inspiration behind these drippy candles. She had tutorials where you would make them by hand. You still could roll them in paper and use glue, hot glue, and create drips and paint and all that. And I said to her, I'm like, I want to make these. I want to have these made. So these are made out of resin. They have little wire wicks on them. You don't light them, but they give a very authentic look, hand grunged. And you're going to see a lot of the stuff, everything that from an effect is really hand applied. So you'll see, I say that they are consistently inconsistent. And I'm okay with that because, sometimes it's going to be lighter, sometimes it's going to be a little grungier. It is what it is, but if you wanted to paint it to get a specific color, you could, but I love the drippy candle. So those are the 4 things that made a return as is, all right? Then we're going to get into the other products that came back, but also came back with a little bit of a twist. Now, of course, we have our paper product, our ephemera. So ephemera pack, 143 pieces. We always love to update the ephemera, but we don't update it 100% because there's just stuff that's really good. We curate vintage inspired ephemera, and there's some things that we just want to bring back year after year after year. Some things have made it in for several years, but we always want to just go in and update it just to surprise you. So you'll see just new smaller elements. There's a cool manor in here, some bigger pieces, a little periodic table. That glue box, that's from my studio. There's little bats and eyes and some floral elements in here, but we just like to keep it just kind of mixed up. And there's great things that you can use for cards. Ephemera is a great card foundation if you just want to make quick cards, even if you don't want to get out your stamps. Maybe you just want to do inky backgrounds, and there's some great elements that you can use for cards as well as collage. Then we have the backdrops. Same thing, we went in and updated several backdrops, but we didn't do all of them because there's some, that we just want to come back year after year. So backdrops, this is a 6x10 paper. It's a weird size because it's designed to be cut up. You can use it for cards, you can use it for scrapbooks, obviously as a panel or maybe something behind a photo. But what's cool about this, again, double-sided paper, but really cool effects. There's vintage lace, there's some painted backgrounds, there's some new damask, there's some great marble. You'll see everything from rustic wood, composition, there's some wallpaper, very ephemera-based. You'll see a lot of ledgers, little blueprints, tiny prints as well. So the scale of backdrops is also something that we keep in mind. Paula always pushes like, we need tiny things. And I'm like, oh, we need big, giant things. Because I like really big, larger than life graphics. But to her point, there's sometimes we need just that tiny print that when you cut it up, it makes for a perfect backdrop. And that's what it is. So all the staining and all of that, we start with vintage elements, but a lot of this authentic staining look is really done by Chris, where he can take a stained paper and apply it to other things. Really great. So the other thing to note that we're trying to do, anytime that we update something specific from a paper perspective, we started putting the date on there. So I think maybe we started this maybe last year. So you'll see like this is Halloween 2023. So you'll know if it's this year's collection versus last year, right? Other things got a little bit bigger update than the backdrops and the ephemera, and that is where we started combining things. And that was kind of my goal this year. I wanted to combine elements for a couple of reasons. One, your budget. It's really important to keep that in mind, because as makers, we want it all, we want to collect it all, but at some point our budget is going to tell us a little bit different. And so when we look at elements and the value we bring and how much is in a pack that can be used, this year we decided there's certain elements that I wanted to curate and put together. So this is the first one, layers and paper dolls. Difference between layers and ephemera, this is a thicker surface that is coated, so it has a shine to it. And the nice thing about a coated thing is you can easily tint it with crayons, watercolor pencils, or inks. But layers and paper dolls are made out of the same substrate. So to me, it was a natural to pull them together. But in addition to paper dolls, we included portraits. So there is a ton of stuff in here. So these are kind of, instead of having separate paper dolls, which we've always had for years, we chose some favorites. We even added a couple of new ones. Portraits are those bigger scales. And then we've got, I don't want to go through all the paper because this is where I kind of go down the rabbit hole. And my gosh, I can talk about all the art for days, but I don't want to do that. I'll get in trouble. But I'll pull from the back. So love the paper dolls, all different sizes, scales. We did some bat wings, so you can add bat wings to the back. They're really fun. You can tint them, color them. We have a moon in there. We've got some creepy portraits, but these are the layer components as well. So we've got just giant circles, some cool cutout rings. If you're going to do like a carnival with game spinners, you'll see some curtains. There's even some frames. These are all really large pieces designed to layer. So you start with a backdrop, then you add a layer, which is big, and then you build on top of it. We even did some creepy portraits. Look, it's almost like a mugshot portrait. Isn't she fabulous? It's a cool cabinet card. So there's just, it's kind of a little bit of everything. We even went in and did those photo strips. So like what we did for Idea-ology, we included one of those. I absolutely love those large ones, the Photomatic. Really good, right? So cigar box, look at that little scene. There's so much good stuff in here. So from a value, you really get a value because there's so much stuff to combine when you're working with Idea-ology. Then of course the sticker book, super fun on the sticker book. We start with clippings. So the clippings of course are all the stuff that Paula clips out of books. She does go in and read vintage books and literally cuts these out. That's why they are designed to be wonky. The color is inconsistent. The cut lines are weird because we wanted to keep them as authentic as possible. We did add some new ones. So in addition to bringing back our favorites, we added another sheet of cool, creepy stuff. So, you know, his transformation from mortal to vampire. Ooh, so good. I know Kathy would love that. Twilight. But just a lot of great stuff. Then these are also new. Take a look at these wonderful little portraits. These are like daguerreotypes, those little tin types. Love the characters we put in these frames. Of course, you can utilize them as is. You can cut them apart, but they are just really large stickers. You could put them on chipboard if you wanted to cut those out. You could even try to put those on, etc. Then you can see the bats, just some great bat stickers that you can see. You're going to see a lot of bats in this release. But you can stick these onto cards. There's that lace trim. Then as we go through, there's some more wonderful little portraits in those frames. If you guys remember him, he's so good. Yeah, he's a favorite. He used to be on one of our packaging. Then we've got ravens, we've got poison labels, we've got some other lace. Then when we get to the back here, these elements could be used however you want. If you're doing Halloween party or invitations, these are just fun stickers. But really the scale of these is to go with all of this stuff. So we did these skulls. So these skulls you can actually stick over the paper dolls. You'll see some of the creep where it's got that skull. So depending on how creepy you want to get, you can put those right over the face of the paper dolls. The witch hats, the whole perspective of these, where it's got this really large area in the back, again, is so you can take a paper doll and when you stick their head right there, it looks as if they're wearing that hat. So you can definitely utilize these with photos. We added top hats this year, so you can put top hats on there. And then we have these masquerade masks. These big ones, of course, are for these portraits back here. So it's just that large scale for your portraits. And then the smaller ones are for paper dolls. So all the die cut little eye holes, that's all done in the sticker. Peel it off and stick that. And I share that with you because you'll see in the makes how that's used, and I want you to be able to connect, like, was that a die cut or was that? It's from this sticker book. So it's a really great, we love our sticker books. They seem to sell out really quick in the season, but I love the fact that we get to continue to do this. And I will say that at the end of this live, I'm going to talk about kind of the life of seasonal and talk about even previous collections. So you definitely want to stick around to the end because we're going to go through that also. Then another big change, this one sparked kind of a cool exclusive product. So this is baseboards and transparencies. Typically baseboards are by themselves, but this is a thick chipboard, almost like a bookboard that is printed. We've got some great die cut pieces. We totally updated the art on this one and I love it. I've got to dump this one out because this is good. There's going to be all sorts of things, and you need to see that because sometimes you can't really tell just from the packaging. But we've got some great frames, so all these pieces pop out. So you could have a frame, you could have a poison label, a smaller frame. We've got creepy shutters, we've got windows, we've got this great door, kind of an asylum door with a lock and chain. You can leave these panels in or you can pop them out and you can utilize those. We've got this great Gothic arch door. A lot of makers use that. These cool cupboard windows that you can slice this open. I used this for my cabinet of curiosities last year, inspired by Paula. Some other frames, some smaller ones, so you can see for junk journals and mini books, we've got some smaller frames. Take a look at this cool arch. But this, my favorite piece. This is my favorite of the collection because it's like this old boarded up palette window. But take a look at not only the detail, but those cuts in chipboard. Woo-hoo. That inspired a whole nother thing that we did for Christmas, but just a great element because you can cut it and use it by itself as just a crate, or you can use part of it as a window, or you can utilize it together. Just some bigger pieces, that ornamentation. And then this one, also a really cool big arch. And you can cut these pieces apart. We've got a lot of quote chips, so great quotes. Remember, they have these longer tails that you can add fasteners, you can add hardware heads, or you can just cut these if you want. Then we've got this whole thing of transparency. Now, if you didn't see, what fell out were a bunch of bats, a lot of little bats. I was inspired last year. I put bats on our house just kind of flying around. But I love these bats because they are just done out of a printed transparency. So you can utilize them as is. You can sew through them. You can use a tiny attacher. You can bend the wings. You can also heat them a little bit if you wanted to have a little bit more shape, but just bending them, then stick them onto a card. You can use tape, collage medium, glossy accents, but I love that. And there's, I mean, they go down to really tiny. And I love just that little shine you get from the transparency. So we have them in stickers. We have some in the ephemera pack, but these I wanted specifically out of this transparency for the shine and that little flexibility, because if you used it on a card after it was folded, even though you put it in an envelope, they would just pop right back up. Then take a look at this transparency, this wonderful spider web. There's bat static cling to it. So on this one, it was inspired by our packaging. We did the spider web on the back of our packaging. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we just did a really creepy web? So here's the thing about this one. You can use it as is, but it's a weird big size for a reason. We wanted it that when you go to use it, you can put it behind the windows and you can get a couple of cuts, but it gives you options. So instead of cutting it the size of a window, I wanted it where you could flip it around and decide where you want that web to come from. And if you were going to use it on, say, a smaller window, you know, maybe you just want a little bit coming over that edge. And as long as you have your transparency just going up to the edge, right? You can just cut it just so you have enough just to tack it back, and you could tack it with just some, I use score tape, just double stick tape. You could also use a little bit of glue. But see, then you can utilize this for several windows. It's really great. I love the idea. So whether you're doing, you know, big windows or small, we made sure that it's going to work with all the windows in this pack, and you'll be able to cut it apart. But then I had this idea, and I said, wouldn't it be cool? I think it was years ago that Zoe Hillman did this like exploding TV. It was a Sizzix release, and she took one of the domes that we had, the bubbles, she like cut it open. It was like a Hitchcock thing, and she had stuff flying out, and it just looked like shattered glass. And I thought, that is so cool. I wonder if we could do a transparency that's printed and cut. And we didn't think we could, but let me tell you, the factory just did it. I found this art of shattered glass. Chris went in and did this amazing die line, and the factory replicated it perfect. Because usually when you die cut plastic, they have a tendency to want to smooth it out. And in order to get shattered glass, I wanted these cut out to perfection. I absolutely love that. All right. It is the best phrase ever, Tracy. Wouldn't it be cool? Because when I say that, you know, I think like the people I work with, they kind of sit there and just like, what's he going to say? But really, you don't know what you don't know. And I think you need to kind of try it out. So what's great about these, there again, is their size that you have options. So they're all bigger than the window. If you're expecting it to line up, you just have to trim it off. But again, this is going to give you options as to where you want to place these. And there are two different, I'll say shatters, if you will. Okay, this one and this one. This one's got a little bit more jaggedy cut right here. And this one is this. Hey, Chris is in the house. Chris McCahill, he's in the chat. Chris, shout out to you. He's the one really that brings all of this to life. He has to do every little die line. And, you know, we're giving him like a photo of an old window. And we're like, can you clean it up, take out the background, do this, scale this, size this. And then sometimes I'm like, can you do it again? And can you do it again? And he just, it's great. It's a teamwork, right? Teamwork makes the dream work, right, Paula? We do it. Yes. So these, like, take a look how they fit behind there. It just gives it such a cool vibe, right? So here's the thing. When we did these, we weren't sure if it was going to work. And once you kind of go down the road with production, you have to kind of keep things moving. So if an idea doesn't work, you have to just go with it. So in this case, if the die line didn't work, we would have just gone with a printed transparency without the hole and been done. But when I got these and I saw how beautiful they were, I called Tracy and I was like, please, 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 can I please just have a pack of these? And she's like, look, we can't do that. You know, we have minimum order quantities. I'm like, please, 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 just this 1 year. Like, they're going into production. Just ask them to make a bunch more. So this year, we're doing it for this year only. We have an entire pack of shattered windows. Okay. So could they be in the everyday line? It would be amazing if they did well enough to do it, but I wouldn't count on that. That's really not the plan. It was a kind of a one and done thing. I agreed with Tracy that if she did it, it'd be great, but I don't think it's going to happen just from the minimum order, but it could. I mean, I never say never, but this is a pack of 20 pieces of 10 each of those two shattered elements. Okay, so you can now see when they're stacked up. The idea is really, it's not just windows. You can use them. Oh my gosh, I could just grab stuff right out of, I mean, I have stuff just sitting over here, but you'll see in the makes too, but like you could have a frame and you could have a photo behind it. So maybe you have a frame and maybe you have a creepy photo and boom. Well, I mean, her head's a little big for the frame, but see, you can have that like a cracked glass in a frame. If you were doing it over maybe a piece of mirrored, it would look like shattered mirror because it has that printing and that cut. So my advice is if you really like these, just get enough for yourself where you don't necessarily intend on them coming back, because I just don't think that they will, because
so let's talk
I
about
asked if she could. I personally got 36 packs just because, and I don't normally do that, do I? But I know that I
36. Oh my God.
But I know that I made a deal with her. That's really, it's great over mirrored, Paula. It's really cool because the printing, the white, it's like shattered mirror. But I just made a deal. Like, if we can just do it this once. Anyway, so that is shattered. So that's the cool thing about kind of baseboards, transparency, shattered. There's a lot of stuff, and there's little bats just everywhere. You get a bunch of bats. So I'm just going to set this stuff off to the side. And then I'll get into the charms. I did bring like a little bucket to clean up. That was Mario's idea. because I said, I go, every time I do the ideology, I want to open up the packages because you don't know what you don't know. You can't see all this stuff online or in the package. And there's so much stuff in a single pack. So from a value, it's crazy. Really, it's crazy. Now, seasonal is one of those things that, and for those of you that are new into the world of ideology, when it does sell out, it's gone for the season. Some stuff will make a return and some stuff doesn't. So just want you to be aware of that. Put the stickers in there, put the layers in there. There we go. I'm pretty organized this time. There we have it. Okay. Okay, then we get into trinkety bits. Now, there's not a lot, but what's here is really great simply because we've done some amazing combo packs and we've made some cool updates, some cool changes, you think? So for trinkets, normally I kind of have my muffin tin, but I haven't set that up yet. I'll set it up after live. One thing that we did bring in, and this is an everyday SKU, so this is something that we're launching for Halloween, but these will be in the line moving forward, are these mini display domes. This is really from the makers. We had some of these in the line. They came in 2 different sizes and they got retired. And the makers were like, you know what, we need these back. So we kind of revamped this though. I wanted to create, instead of it being so pointy, just a bit more of a broader arch. But these mini display domes, they're launched for Halloween, but they will also be in the everyday line. So that's why they don't really have kind of that grungy packaging. And so you notice that about Shattered also didn't have that grungy packaging. So I'm just hoping. Okay, but let's just talk real quick about the domes. So these are the new minis. And I show you this because sometimes you may not be aware. Again, you can't tell from a picture online. So these are the new scale of the minis. These are the small. So these come 2 in a pack. These are the small display domes. Then we have the display domes. So these come 1 to a box. If you're familiar with the glass, that's pretty much the difference in scale. The new minis, these are great for smaller elements. Then we have the smalls. These are great for just individual scenes. And then, of course, we have the regular display dome from a glass perspective. And these, of course, are a completely different shape than the reliquary dome, which we launched this year, which is my absolute favorite because it is a flat-faced, really large glass dome. Okay, so that's the glass components there. Then for the trinkets, yes, I see a lot of you guys already talked about the combo packs, and that's exactly what we did. So in the world of metals, we combined several things. So this is word plaques and tags. So this one came back. This was its own, but it's just a single one. We've got that large word plaque, simply something dreadfully wicked, very cool with those raised words. So that's new. Curious things, that's one that came back from the small one. And then we did these tiny tags this year, so we wanted to do them for Halloween. So we have a little 13, toxic, and poison. And with the raised letters, you can go in with paint and crayon and create a cool effect. Then these might look similar to gates last year. These are completely different. These are Gothic gates. We simplified the design. We made these a little bit thinner. We took out that fancy swirl, but we paired them with a lock, a key, and a little bit of chain. So the lock and keys, those were by themselves last year. Now it's part of this combo pack. That little bit of chain is very cool because you, depending on how you're using the gates, you can wrap that chain, hook on the lock and key, and just, it's really good. It's all about kind of storytelling. And that's what this is all about, creative storytelling. Then we have these, the adornments, spiders, and branches. So the spiders, this was a classic that we wanted to bring back. It's probably our most detailed, delicate adornment. It does have a little loop so you can tie string on the back and hang the spider, but these legs are so ornate and detailed. Fabulous spiders. So there's 6 of those. And then these branches are new. It's Paula's favorite. She's like, I need a whole case of branches, but these branches have these wonderful sculpted leaves. So they're perfect for using foundry wax, embossing glaze, crayons, paint, but they have a beautiful, they could be used for fall as well, but just they kind of have this twisty, curvy vine aesthetic. So perfect for Halloween makes. Then we have these guys, so skull and bone. So these came back. So the skulls, again, hand done. So sometimes you're going to get a really dark creeper. Sometimes they're going to be a little bit lighter, but that's what I love about them. I want them to look just crazy cool. The bones this year are different than Boneyard that we've done in the past. The Boneyard SKU that had just bones, those were done out of a plastic. These are resin. So what's great about the resin ones is that you can just snap them in half and create bone fragments. They're pretty cool. You can color these with paint or crayon. That's kind of my favorite because they already have this kind of chalky finish to them, little speckly flecklies in there. But this is a great SKU. And I know a lot of people wish, we had a pack of 50 skulls, but I just think it was a good pairing to do the skull and bones. Then this one, this is the manor. So these are the candle stands. So these fit the drippy candles that I shared earlier. Again, last year we had just a pack of the stands, but they were going to be retired. And I'm like, hey, instead of that, let's just bring back one of each. And this frame is new. It's a little bit bigger than I'll bring in that, like the deco frames that I had. So it's bigger in scale. It's got some great detail, but perfect to me. I just called it the manor because I envision this sitting above a mantle, but it's great that you can use it going across, so you can use it landscape or portrait. And I love that detail. It is flat backed, so still easy to glue on. So that's the manor. Then we have this set. This set is fun. So this one is all new. And I know some people when this first release are like, oh, I have everything. You may have a version of these things, but you don't have these because I wanted to make significant updates to all of these elements. So the first are these tombstones. These tombstones are much thinner than the previous ones, a different design as well. They have this great pitted stone look, perfect for remnant rubs. They have this dry brush finish like concrete, but they are a different scale and a different thickness. So you can use them with the other ones because it's really great to make a graveyard or cemetery, because I wanted to keep everything very in proportion or in scale to not make anything you've had in the past obsolete, but also give you something new. The cauldron, now we've done a cauldron for years, but I wanted to update the cauldron. Before our cauldron, our previous one had these little loop handles, didn't have these feet. Great cauldron, but I don't know, maybe I was inspired by all the ones that I saw last year for Halloween. Pretty much everywhere I went, they had these feet. And I was like, Tracy, I really want to do with feet. And she goes, oh my gosh, little resin feet. All I see is nothing but damage. But they did great job on packaging. So now we have a new cauldron that's got this great wide mouth with these 3 little feet. So good when you see the makes. And then the craziest thing, which took the longest to do out of everything here, was the broom. Because, and thank you again, Tracy, I was like, I had something in mind and I was not going to settle. This has been our broom in the past. We've done this broom several years, and it's kind of this, I don't know, this like Cousin It thistle-y looking stuff. It's great. It's very broomy. Has a resin handle that looks like a little janky stick. That's nice. But I wanted something that was definitely more nostalgic. And that was it. I agree, Tracy. The tiny twigs in the broom, I'm like, I want sticks. I want little tiny sticks. I want them to be real. I don't want this stuff. She's like, right, but this is like, you know, this comes on a rope and they can do it and they can sew through it. And like, you want them to just find like sticks and gather them? I'm like, yes. Because
conversations between you and Tracy.
yes, like, because it would be great. I said, and I don't want the handle to be solid. I want it to be like, I don't know, like wood grain, like grungy, grimy. I don't care that we use the same shape, but I want it to have a different finish. And this is the broom this year. Obviously, doing this was way more expensive because it's all random little twigs gathered by hand, tied around this handle. So that's why there's one. But to me, it was perfect for this graveyard set. But my, oh my, oh my. So you could break these off if you want to make a shorter broom. But that's the broom of my dreams. Not that. That's like a Cinderella sweepy broom.
That's a broom of dreams.
That is. It's good. It is the broom of my dreams.
The broom of my dreams.
The broom of my dreams. So thank you. It's so worth it. And I hope that when you see the makes and all of that, and Advanta sees it, that I always think that I need to be validated in this live where people are like, yes, it was totally worth it, or no, you wasted your time. I want validation because they need to see that, yes, it was worth getting, like, I think we were up at 7 different versions of the broom. And I was like, nope, we'll get there. Okay. Then we did confections. Now, in years past, we've had just the black and white candy as a separate SKU, and we had candy corn as a separate SKU. But both of those were actually going to be retired because of minimum orders and sales. But confections still sold. So I'm like, what if we just combine it all? We do a few pieces of corn, a few pieces of this, but to make it new and interesting, let's add orange and white, because I saw a lot of makers adding a touch of orange to their candy last year. So that was the inspiration. So this is the confections pack for this year. You can see it's got that perfect little assortment of Halloween treats, black and white, orange and white, and then of course the candy corn. This is made out of a flexible clay. So you can cut these different sizes if you want. You can slice these in half. I've seen makers that actually go in with a blade. They have to be really careful, but slice this really thin and use the candy corn for shaker pieces because you can slice it up. You can use alcohol markers or Sharpies if you wanted to add a color on this, but I absolutely love the candy. I agree, Luise, I want candy as well, but I had some for breakfast. But I will say, if all things, I mean, even though I said the broom of my dreams, this was the one SKU that I love how it works out. But this is the one that it's like, I wanted it to happen, but honestly, I didn't think it was going to happen. But it was a wouldn't it be cool? If you've seen our Halloween decor, you know that I love vintage Halloween. And I love vintage mache, jack-o'-lanterns, and cats. And I have them on the mantle. They go for ridiculous amount of money on eBay, hundreds of dollars.
Oh my gosh, you could retire on those things.
Luckily, I've been buying them for years and I've never paid that price, but they're big. Their actual size are done out of a paper pulp and they're painted in Distress Perfect. And I said to Tracy, wouldn't it be cool if we can make these smaller? And she's like, well, how much smaller? Now, they start this big and I'm like, we're talking like the size of the cauldron. Really small. Now, we did this one for a couple of years and I loved him. It was like a little candy pail. I'm like, it would be like this, but I learned a lot when we did this one. So here's what I really wanted to have happen. Not only did I want them to do it, but I wanted the features hand painted just like the vintage ones. So I wanted that little color. See, Tracy, I'm glad they're your favorite because they're mine too. They're so good. And like vintage lovers on Instagram, they don't even make, and they're like, you've got to be kidding. I've never seen reproductions so good. So even the detail, like the little eyebrows, the whiskers, those are painted just like the original mache. This one has that little touch of green, just like the original mache, and green eyebrow, just random, all right? And then they're stained. This one is stained in brown. This one is washed in white, just like my original ones. But I wanted these to light up because one thing this didn't do for me, it was very cute because it's a candy bucket, is light up. And these light up. I'm like, so I need the eyes open. I need the mouth open. She's like, how are we going to do that on something so small? So I wasn't hopeful, but when they came in the very first round, I was like, you got to be kidding me. So not only do they have the openings, but we even included holes in the bottom, pre-drilled holes to thread tiny lights in so you can light these up. You don't have to light them up, but you can fill them with things. They're just magic. So this little set, this is called Trick or Treat because, well, they're perfect. I would have to say that I love social media already and how many people, especially vintage collectors, they're like, I bought 8 packs of these. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. They're going to line them up. But I'll demo these a little later just really to show you like what you can do with them because they're pretty magical. So last thing, just to talk real quick, is we have this item. This is seasonal only, so I really want to point this out during the Halloween live because we brought it in for Halloween, but we will also be showing you Christmas because this box has a Halloween inspiration. Thank you, Paula, for the inspiration, and Christmas because it could be used for Halloween and Christmas, so we just did one box, but it only came in for Halloween. So once it sells out, there won't be any more coming back for Christmas because they brought it in for the season. It was a bit challenging because what I really wanted was, you know, instead of a glass dome or something flat, I wanted that snow globe look, but I still wanted a cork base, but I didn't want a really long neck that you would normally find, say, like from a light fixture, and I just think it turned out perfect. So this is a glass display dome, and again, it's just seasonal. It won't be part of the everyday line. You could use it for that. There's some great ideas that I have coming up in the season for this, but I just wanted to show because you're going to see some great inspiration. It still has that cork base like we do in Ideology, so you can drill through it, carve it out, paint it, stain it, and then we've got this wonderful glass dome. So just to kind of give you an idea for scale, so that is our display dome. That's our reliquary dome, and then this is the display globe. So you can see scale-wise, it's about the same height as that, right? Give or take, but it's a globe. So it's great. It's going to be perfect for snow globes because you need to fit stuff in there. You need to fit woodland trees at Christmas, and I can go on and on. You can do all that stuff. But anyway, that's what it is. So you might see this image, or at Christmas they might change it to this image, but it is the same globe. It's absolutely beautiful. And all of this, yeah, I just saw a question. All of this was released last month. So all of this has been available since July. So it is, it's already shipped worldwide. It's in stores everywhere. So if your store didn't get it in, well, I think Advantis is pretty much sold out of most of this stuff, but you can check retailers worldwide. The seasonal stuff, it sells out really, really fast. It does every year. And that's just what it is. Okay. So here we go. We ready? Going to get into the makes. So, all right, that's a good setup, Mario. So a shout out to the makers, because the makers just do amazing, amazing things. And in the ideology world, we do have a smaller group of makers just because of the limitation of product, but also just a maker for ideology, like it's a huge challenge because you've got to be a dreamer. You saw all of those things just in packaging, and you have to put it together to do amazing storytelling. And I'm telling you right now, this is the best batch of inspiration I have ever seen in the world of ideology, ever. And we're going to take you from a lot of different ones and then at the end, they're like stuff, I don't know, from a museum. It's absolutely crazy. All of the makers, as always, are on timholtz.com on the maker page. They will be linked in a follow-up blog post today with social links to Instagram over the weekend. Thanks, Zoe, to the makers. The makers for ideology, they don't really do a lot of tutorials because their projects are so involved, but a lot of them share process things of like how to collage or how to create this effect or how to tint something. Some of them, many of them sell their makes after the season as well. So I'm just telling you, like, you definitely want to follow the makers if you are inspired and amazed by everything that you have. So this first one, Paula created this make. This is using an ideology vignette panel. And the thing about ideology, it can go many levels. It can be simple collage and it can be detailed. And I think it's important to understand that as a maker. Don't be intimidated by this, be inspired by this. That is the thing. You need to be inspired, not intimidated. So when people say, oh, I could never do that, it's simply because you don't want to try. That's the reality of it. Because when you try it, you'll see that it can take you on a world that makes ideology your own. So this is done, the vignette panels using the backdrops, distress collage medium, and you're going to see distress products used in the most authentic way, why we do what we do with Ranger and how everything needs to come together. This right here you can see is that amazing crypt paste that we do for Distress Halloween. It provides the perfect texture on these baseboards. So how great is that, that this door fits this arch? Amazing. You can create that depth in there, which I think is wonderful. There's our little broom, little twiggy broom, so you can trim it if you want. You can add color. There's our word plaque, that long one. There's a little fasteners. This is a new backdrop. So this brick background, this was inspired by Tami B doing all of her bricks with paste. And when I saw this art, I'm like, Chris, do you think we can replicate this to fit a backdrop? So this is one of the new backdrops. Cool bricks, right, for the paper. And all of these components together here, you can see on top how Paula's added a little bit of mica stain over that moon. So that moon is one of the layers. There's just so many great details to doing this. And you can build this up with foam tape or wood, however you wanted to create. But I just love showing this panel. And I know sometimes, you know, when we're making, and I love this about Paula, she'll, you know, she can put things together that are easy to do but look complicated, and then she could take it into the finest detail. And I think that's the important thing about making, is that not everything has to be a masterpiece, because if that was the case, I wouldn't make for ideology either, because I would be too intimidated. But I'm not. Instead, I'm inspired. I'm like, I'm going to do me. So that's our first little panel. But this art you're going to see kind of inspired a lot of different ideas. Okay? Tami B created this one. So here she took the arch and any of these finishes. So if you ever want to take much of the shine off of anything, you can use collage medium, because collage medium matte has that ability to kind of dull down some of the stuff. There's our spiderweb transparency in there, little paper doll, little raven. But then she went in and just created this magic little, I don't know, little mausoleum, if you will, out of a vignette box. I love how she used the door back here to hide the battery pack, because there are tiny lights in here. So look at that. Look how that lights up with glow. That beautiful purple glow in there. Wonderful. So if you can look in there and see that scene, that's one of the new layers. The layers have this wonderful perspective images in there to give that haunting look. So when I found that art, I said to Paul, I'm like, we need this because it's going to create that perspective. So using that layer in the background and then lighting it up, it just looks like this really long, wicked corridor. Then we have these bats. So these are the ones from, I'm going to guess, ephemera, or could be stickers, because I love how Tami shaped these. Then we have these detail. I love this. I've seen her do this on previous makes. Take a look at that. This is ideology silverware. So We have the cutest little silverware as part of the ideology line. I'll just talk about that. These are the little forks that, and Tami's done amazing things with silverware in the past. So these are metal, but look how she went in and curled that and then bent that back just to create these little sconces for the drippy candles. How brilliant is that? I love little silverware. So a lot of times people will use it for, I don't know, different settings because they are out of metal. I love the spoon. I use the little spoons for glitter, little shakety shake. It is the perfect little spoon if you're wanting to get glitter into small areas, especially your shakers. But how brilliant is that, just to take that and use that for drippy candles on the side? But brilliant. And then using the clipping stickers on the back, Amelia Hardy, we thought she was lost, doing her best to conceal herself. She vanished into the cobwebs. See, that's what clippings are all about. You take these clippings and you tell a story. That is just absolutely brilliant. Brilliant detail. And again, that paste, I think Zoe coined it as crypt paste, but is grit paste crypt? That's just that little bit. Sometimes people think you have to really spackle it on, but you don't. Just that little bit of granule elements from that grit just gives it such a great stone look. So again, another inspiration, just using that arch and that door from baseboards, and of course the transparencies. You can see how everything ties together.
Everyone
Quite
loves
amazing,
the
huh?
fork. They love the
Oh,
fork
it's
holding the
brilliant.
candles.
It's a brilliant idea. So brilliant. All right. Then we have this wonderful book that Suzy created. So again, inspired. So when I saw these things as I was setting up, I'm like, I need to kind of put these together because it's really great how makers can take an element but bring it in a totally different way. So Suzy created this wonderful junk journal mini book. The cover is using the door. So here is that locking key. All of this, you can do grit paste, you can do grit paste glow, you can do crypt, you can mix it together. I love, there's that new little twig. There is this little doorway. So this just kind of hangs on the nail. So you can keep that cover closed. Isn't that brilliant? Just using one of the tack nails from Ideology, because this is chipboard. So hammer into it. Go for it. So then when you open the door, whoo, there she is. Creepy. Little entomology. Love that from the ephemera. That's also one of the backdrops, that crackle. You could do it with paste, but it's great to have it for a backdrop. Then we have the transparency, one of the paper dolls. I love that layer of the spirals. We had that in Urban quite a while back, so I was happy to bring that back for Halloween. And then we open this, you just get your creep on. With all of that stuff, you can take vintage lace, you can take baseboards. I love these little sewn pockets, and take a look at Shattered. Little alcohol ink just to make it super grungy. But isn't that just great how fragmented? You might be like, oh, I can just go in with a knife and do that. Go for it. Can't wait to see. It's really hard to cut those little elements and get the white lines. That was the brilliance, because I tried. I was inspired by Zoe too. I'm like, I can take a knife and I'm not really good. I'll chop that out. And it just didn't look this. And I think this was Chris's idea. It's like, but I think if we print in white, it will really give it more of that shattered aesthetic. And it sure does. Amazing. Then we've got, look at this. We've got little adornment. I love adornment entomology. I just love the detail that Suzy does. I'm always inspired. Now, and I don't look through the makes ahead of time, so I kind of need to explore with you. I've seen this in the past where we've got the bones that's a pull out. So look at that. Look at that little tying on those bones. And then you can see the layers again, the transparency with the shatter. And I think this is also good because we've seen mica tiles used a lot in Ideology, and I know a lot of people have wanted those. And you could use mica tiles, but I love having that little bit of shattered with the ink because you can sew through these. You can't really sew through mica tiles easily. This is a transparency, so allows you just to sew. I love this. I don't know if this is a pull out yet. Little book.
If not, it is now.
Yeah, well, yeah, little book. That's one of the, so we do mini books in the ephemera pack, little book covers. Just so good. So good. And I love the torn edges, but this is what it's all about. The ephemera pieces, the backdrops, little clips. I love those frames too. And just the use of hardware. That's all important. Oh, check him out. He's cool. So here's another cool feature. If you take a look at these layers, so these are the paper doll portraits, part of the paper doll layer pack. But can you see how they kind of look a little frosted? Where they don't just look like the shiny, see how that would normally have that shiny finish? So this is done using distressed frosted crystal embossing powder. So you could take frosted crystal and go over these, and it dulls them down. It allows you to color them, but it also gives it just that little bit of nostalgic twinkle, if you will. Not really glitter, because it gives it a surface. But I love how Suzy went and took the baseboards. Oh no, these are layers, sorry. Because I was like, these are thick, foam tape. Took these layers, and those are the columns and the curtains, and then just layered all this. Look at how he's got that cool transparency bat. Fabulous. A little bit of wire bending around those eyes. Little bouquet. Oh, that reminds me, I'm going to talk about these, because I had these off to the side and I didn't know why, and now I do. See, I always have ideas when I'm setting up, and then I totally forget. I did this because you're going to see so many makes with these, and so thank you makers for incorporating these, because I talk about these every year, and I want them to stay, and every year they're on the chopping block to go. But they're impossible to find, and they're very expensive if you go on Etsy and try to buy vintage. But this is bouquet. These are paper flowers. So they are paper flowers with a stamen wrapped in paper, and all of these are wired. So each individual flower is wired but gathered into a bouquet. Each bouquet is gathered together into a bigger one, but you can separate these. And because you can color these, because they're paper, you can use mica stain, watercolor, inks, and the flower will maintain its integrity, and you can shape it. So when you see all these little flowers used on all of these makes, that's what it is. They're all bouquet, because see, you get that little stamen that just stays in there. But yeah, I love that little flower in her hair, and I love just the detail of lace. Then as we flip it, look at that. She's holding the key. Again, another paper doll. There's a little mask from the sticker book. There's the door, more shattered back there with alcohol ink. I mean, come on, just the detail, the end. So good. And then this little page. So this little page is like a little page pocket. Ah, cool. Pull out with that frame from Manor. Love that. Really good. And you can use little coin envelopes. If you have the chapter 3 dies, you can cut that out to put that in there as well. And I love just the detail of how they're shattered, because when you use it in this pocket, then obviously when this is in, you just get a little reveal of what's inside that little envelope. So great use of those transparencies. See, that's why I think those transparencies all the time. And then we've got this other little lace element. It's kind of like a little catch net that has a great envelope. Ah, see, look at that. Again, chapter 3, Sizzix, where you can cut your own pockets and envelopes. And then we open this. Oh my gosh, take a look at this creeper. Oh, see, this is what I was saying. That's the skull in the sticker book. But see how it's right over that other photo in the sticker? Isn't that great? See, shattered for the win.
So cool.
It's so, I mean, even, this is what's important to remember. And if you don't have a notepad handy, you definitely want to have a notepad for this. Because you'll want to jot down just these little ideas that will make sense to you later. But even if you're not into books and you're like, this is too detailed, this one little idea alone, this could be a card front where you're like, oh, I love the idea of that shadow transparency with the skull over photo on a card for Halloween. So these ideas can be applied. You just have to let your imagination explore the possibilities and not just shut them down. The ideas are so, so good. Just stitch through that. Absolutely beautiful. And a little alcohol ink. Yeah, just cutting those apart. So see, I love that little fragmented edge. That shadow doesn't always have to be right in the center. And then we've got that grit paste crypt. Very, very cool. Someone asked if this was mummy cloth. No, this was lace. The mummy cloth was just that strip that I shared. This just looks like lace. It was all stained and dyed. There's that back of the brick. Very, very cool. That's just done, put together with fabric. This is Eclectic Elements. That's one of the Halloween fabrics. Really cool. Great make, Suzy. And Suzy does a lot of stuff on YouTube as well, just kind of sharing the ideas of how things were done. So this panel, I know there's tiny lights in there. Emma created this. I got my hand under there just to kind of turn them on. Oh, look at that. I was like, is it purple? Is it green? Nope, these are regular tiny lights because I love that little glow. Tiny lights, because they're battery operated, can just, simple little hole. You can trim them to what you need, but look at how it just casts that perfect light. Again, a vignette display panel using bricks, really similar to Paula's layout, but also completely different. And that's the beauty of the makes. Oh, thanks. Paula's is right here. Thanks, Mario. Look. Same, but totally different. I love that. That's the thing about ideology. You do your thing and totally change it up. So here we've got that great arch, the door. I love that she's got the little key. This is a little adornment key. I love how she also incorporates the frame from Manor, but also some of the smaller elements. Look at that cool little vine twig charm. There's bouquet again. See, it'd be like popping up everywhere. A little bit of moss, a little bit of twigs. I love this. This is Etcetera. So this is Etcetera trims. There you can see no escape and no regrets. These are on the tombstones. See, I wish these rubs came back, but they didn't. We kind of talked about this last time. Little drippy candles. I love the raven and just moss tucked in, but so creepy cool. And I do think that tiny lights, I mean, I love that because I love the glow that they provide, especially if your artwork's hanging on a wall. And the batteries last quite a long time, especially the fact that it has a switch to it. It's really good. But take a look at the backdrops and how the backdrops really tell the story. And I'm so grateful that backdrops have remained. Just because I know going 6x10 was weird. People were comfortable with 12x12 and 8.5x11 and 8x8 and 9x9, but nobody wanted to cut them apart. And by having a 6x10, you cut it apart. So you can see how utilizing those backdrops in different components really allows you to piece them all together. And I always love that little like eroded layer of paper that's stitched through. So sewing your paper before you glue it down, especially on something wood, is it's so cool. Especially when you have little crackle paste. That's what I was saying. This is where like distressed product in action is magic. Oh look, I just noticed a little spider there, and that is also one of the Stampers Anonymous, etc. that we do for Halloween. Little webs and bats. A strange thing happened. So cool.
I love that corner.
Yeah, that little tattered,
Yeah, it's so cool.
jaggedy thing.
Did that. Really, that's awesome.
So good. Then we added a maker to ideology, which we don't do for a while, but you know what? When they make, they make, and when they do, they do, and when they have cool stuff, you can't deny it. So Luise was she made for Sizzix, but she's also an ideology maker, and her makes are like, they are hefty and very cool, because I love just, I don't know, I love just the bulk of that. And I also love the ability to transform something authentically vintage with ideology, and it's seamless, because I think that is our goal all along, right? When we're designing stuff, Paula and I are lovers of vintage, and I know a lot of other people do vintage, and I'm not going to throw shade on anybody, but I want this, that when you tie it all together, you wouldn't notice that, like, oh, well, wait a minute, is this ideology or is this really vintage? I love that question. But this happens to be a vintage book that she has transformed. I can't wait to dive into this. I've only seen this, and I feel the texture, and I just love it. There are tiny lights. Oh, there they are. She said there are tiny lights hidden in a pocket inside. So that would be, oh, cool.
That's cool.
Cool. So there's her tiny lights. See, in that little pocket, lighting up that vial on the front. So let's just start, shall we?
But before you start, remember
yeah.
you said, hey, did you put batteries in
Yeah.
this book? I go, no, there's not any
It
tiny lights.
doesn't have any lights.
And
And
you go, yeah, but she said there's...
she sent an email. She's like, yeah, they're hidden.
Gosh, I don't know where they are.
Yeah, some makers, see, I don't camouflage mine. You'll see on my makes, I just
so good.
slap it on the back. But yeah, a lot of makers, yeah, she hid that really well. All right, so we start with this baseboard. So there's that arch. There's a lot of elements. There's that metal gate behind it. I love him. He's really cool. Just using, yeah, see, again, you can use embossing powder, frosted crystal, any of that little bat wings. And then here, take a look at this. This is a transparency. I saw Vicki do this last year, where you take a wood burning tool, or you could take anything hot and you actually melt through the transparency. This is one of, I think this is transparent things, or things too, with the butterfly wings. But oh, look at her. See, look at that eye creeping behind there. That's what I love about Halloween makes. It was so cool. And then look at the flowers. There's bouquet mixed with just grungy little moss bits. I do love that cracked glass with that little tiny label that lights up. But putting lights, so see, I don't want to show the mechanics, but it's little lights in there. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. There's a little drippy candle. And then there's another little feature. So you can see there's little silverware here. And this little silverware is a little pull out. Let me see if I can pull this open. I think. Let me just make sure.
Take it easy.
I know, I don't want to ruin someone's make.
Tear it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, look, because it was like this is a little door pull. Look at that. How it opens the door using a spoon. How brilliant is that? So good. That is so good, just to open the door and see her inside. See, like, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, there's a little sliding door. Oh my gosh, so many. I just love silverware, the use of the spoon. Like, my gosh. And then
Silverware gets used for a lot of stuff.
that's right. Then we've got the bones, and again, just those folded, torn edges of paper with little crit paste, little paint splatter. I love the key stitched to the side. Just that. We're gonna flip it around even before we get into the pages, just because here I'll take off this little. Mario likes to mark the make so he knows where to return them, who to give them to. So here's the use of the door. I love that fabric tone, but just look at that. That whole, absolutely beautiful. Little adornment entomology. That skull that's just kind of embedded in there. Drippy candle, bottle, just the lock. I mean, it's just the detail alone, and we haven't even opened it up yet. Okay, here we go. Get ready to get your creep on, because I mean, all these layers where we've got, it's almost like generations, you know, ancestors and just ghosty things, from portraits to paper dolls, and then just that sticker of the skull, the little masquerade, that curtain, just layered and splattered, absolutely amazing. And then we have a strange thing. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Okay. All right. So I just had to see. So a strange thing happened. So these, the Photomatics, take a look at that. She split 2 photos. Do you see that smile on him? That is hilarious. That is so good. With his lipstick. That is absolutely fabulous. I was just turning to be like, did she do it for all of them? And she did. I cannot wait. That is brilliant, splitting those. And just, I remember that game where you like had different pants and shirts and heads for characters. That is so clever. But look at all this just grungy, yummy detail on fabric and layers, a little bit of the translucent crackle just to crack glass. But look at all these little elements and nuggets. And then a little eyelet. There's one of the tags. I've got it kind of turned around. Come on. Here we go. See that little poison tag? Let's turn the page. By the light. Look at that. Just come on. This is so good. It's hilarious. I love the unexpected, right? And especially just during live, because I don't, I always try to form words really quick, and I struggle with that because I want to say so many different things. By the light of the moon.
Come on.
Come on. That's just good. It's so cool. Then we have the paper dolls. I love these little characters. Look, that's a great use for a Sizzix die, just done in metallic. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. They're just fabulous. They really are. They're absolutely amazing. There's that Tivoli guard just used on top of that. So clever and just whimsical, because that's the beauty of Halloween, right? You can just, the oddities are embraced. The imperfections thrive. And I think that that's where we need to be, is just allow your imagination to go. This is a whole card series right here, guys. Like, you could do a whole thing of just mixing and matching the large Photomatic or the photo booth. But there's a little curious things. And I love all the little splatters, the threads. I mean, this is so tactile. I know that we don't have feel-o-vision, but really all of these tattered edges and things that are just kind of sticking out. There's a little tiny clip. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot of it. We have several bookmakers, and those that make books, they do a great job on YouTube going through everything page by page, because in live, I'm sure I miss probably 80% of what's going on just because of what it is. Oh, she is fabulous. Favorite photos. I just love the photos, the use of the bat wings. It's just brilliant, isn't it? With the clips. But also just kind of, I love the upside down 3. Then he's one of our favorites. He's got that great little butterfly, the little owl. Just again, it's the oddities. It's the crazy ideas that you just trust your crazy ideas. But this whole thing right here, especially with all the ID cards, is just, it's a fun twist on Halloween, that's for sure. From Regions Beyond, there's that little seal. Absolutely cool. Little crackle, little confections. I saw just a little piece of confections right there. But see, when you do junk journals, you can add so many great elements. Look at him with that bow.
Oh
So good. And I love all the floral right there. Again, the layering of the bats, the little machine heads. But this one, I love all the little botanical vibes. And really, this has a drippy candle in it, bouquet. So when you think those resin elements or those dimensional things, like, what do I do with that? I can't really take any of these dimensional pieces and utilize them. Absolutely you can. just a different style book. This has a great cutout in there. We got, again, the paper doll. There's a little game spinner, that little clock face. And I love how just this is all just peeled back, but layers, 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 layers. In order to get anything with this much depth, you must layer. And I love that reveal of this frame, because it's such a great reveal on both sides. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Here, just kind of that cool junky wreath. We've got twigs, and there's that metal leaf that really creates that kind of foundational piece just to build off of. Torn paper, a little bit of moss, absolutely fabulous. And this right here, we've got that layer frame. There's a little vial, haunted for life. You see that little clipping sticker inside that corked vial? Wonderful. Oh, and look at that. You know me. If there's something moving that's going to catch my eye, I'm a 5-year-old. See? Look at that. Reminds me of those little games with the little ball bearing that you had to get it to land in the hole. You maybe don't remember, but I love those.
I remember that.
But yeah, see? I would just sit here all day and just do this because I'm a child. And I'm okay with that, because that's just really clever. It's so interactive. It caught my eye like right away. Love that. Love the back, and just how she's kind of coming down that staircase, but just that the back of this is just chewed away, just gnawed off, because it's all rolled and curled and twisted and yum. Wow, what a great make. Just so many elements to be inspired by, right? From a tiny lights in a pocket to a opening door with a spoon to mix and match faces. Just inspiration.
Oh my gosh,
inspiration
I have to
overload.
send that back to Luise, my inventory sheet on that for.
Yeah. What does this contain? I think it's be easier to say what doesn't. Look, just the details. Anyway, fabulous make. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful makes. And I think it's important as we go through making to understand about inspiration. And I say this because we have different makers for ideology, and these, Cheiron made these, and I love that Cheiron makes for ideology. I do. I couldn't be happier that all the makers who make for ideology, because they do what they do, and they do it so well. And I know that, like, when we asked Cheiron, she's like, well, I don't do all that vignette, altered stuff. I'm like, but you're a card maker, and I think that you can show how ideology really transforms to cards perfectly. And this is way different than Cheiron's normal everyday style, but it's identifiably her in the world of ideology. And she did several different cards. These are the first in the series, and I love it because she used the same baseboards that the other makers use, but in a card making way. And they're just as fantastic and just as creepy and just as wonderful. So I love the idea of the backdrops, that you did some stitching, you add that baseboard window, you add shattered, you add the portrait, you add the mask, a little splattering, and you've got a great Halloween card. So this could be something you send. You could even create these as a banner. So if you're like, I'm not into the dimensional boxes, this would be a great banner where you just make a bunch of these panels and hang them up on over a window, a door, over your fireplace. It's just it's cool. I love the storytelling that can be done with these elements, regardless of the actual structure. So here again, great card panel. There's your backdrops. I love these tinted paper dolls. The beautiful garden, very creepy, cool. I love how like he's kind of holding these dead flowers. There's that shattered window in the back, and I love the little splattering of paint that she did, because it gives it such a starry night vibe. And then we have a strange thing happened, right, where we have the starry night. We've got the shattered and those bats flying out. So it's just cool, and I love that. I love that the makers just do what they do. You're inspired, not intimidated. That's the thing. And I think as makers, we need to really kind of retrain our way of thinking about the creative world in general. That when we see stuff, be inspired by how you can utilize that information and ideas into your world and not be intimidated by it. So, all right. So Marlies created this one. I love this this accordion book. You can see how it opens up. It's just really cool. I love how bookmakers, junk journalers, can really create a book out of anything and create a structure out of anything. And I do love that. Again, another one, Marlies goes on YouTube a lot and just explains from everything from construction to embellishments. This is really cool because I like the idea. I'll go through each page, but I love that you kind of have all these elements on both sides, but kind of different stories, and they look like little boxes in the back. So a lot of great stitching detail. Again, I love that it starts out with the window and the little boy in the window with that shattered. See, it's such a perfect detail. It's like, where have these been all of my creative life? And then we have curious things. And then just as we go through, there's all sorts of little, there's a little pull out. So a little shattered, little tiny attacher. So that's another great way to attach these. Just use that tiny attacher because it's such a tiny little staple that you can attach it to cards just to make little journaling cards. I love the tag sticking out of the top. Bat, a little bit of glitter, Luise. That's it. That's the new thing for Halloween. That's it. You have to watch the last live to know. Then we've got this wonderful portrait with the mask. He's great. But see all these little details from ephemera, the periodic table. And that's why we do stuff in different scale, because you do need, your bigger element for your backdrop, but all these little tiny details from the labels to the prices, just really good. And I love all the stitching, and I do love all the loose threads. For Halloween, it totally works. All right. We'll flip the next one. I'll open it this way. That'll just make it easier. Little frame there. Look at him in there. See behind that shattered, that's what I was talking about with the frame. Putting it in the frame where it looks like a shattered frame. There's that cool, I love these buildings that we add. When Paula and I are picking stuff, we really are random. And Chris is like, yep, okay, that works. We're like, Chris, you think this would be good? Yep, it's random. But again, it's every little detail. And I think seeing these details come together, it does make all of the time that everyone spends on ideology just so worth it, because details matter, especially when you can see how all the colors complement each other, how the finishes of all the papers just really pair well. Look at her. She's fabulous. That's that frame. I love this frame from Manor Set. Yeah, like I want a whole pack of those. I love it because I love that raised, I think what's catching me is just that raised little beaded area. That's kind of what Paula did with ball chain. But yeah, every time I've seen that frame on a make so far, it stopped me. I love that little sparkle. That's a great use for mummy cloth. Again, just staining it and then sewing through it and getting that wonderful frayed edge. Perfect for that. And then as we go through on the back, it's kind of like you just flip it and go again. I'm assuming these open. I'll tell you in just a second. Yep. All right. Nope. There we go. So that opens. Oh, I think. Let's see. My fingers and small. It's like there's a book in here. Yeah. Oh, cool. Cool little books. Look at that. Little composition books. You can do little inky pages. You can take old paper and just use, a book doesn't have to be something you're going to write in or stamp in. It could just be a great embellishment. I love that. But I love having the book that goes into those pockets. That's really clever. That's cool. And I love just seeing how that tucks in under there. And we've got another page. See, it's like you don't know what you don't know till you pick up the make. Let's see. This one opens too. Yes, also has a book.
I love all that stashed stuff.
Yeah, it's all the hidden things. Oh, see? But this is one of my favorite papers. That Halloween marble, like I would want that in wallpaper and wallpaper the living room for Halloween.
We can do it in tape.
It's so good. We probably could. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. I just think that's so cool. Really good. Beautiful, beautiful job, Marlies. I see all the makers, they just do such cool, they just do them. They just do them. That's the whole idea when it comes to ideas and inspiration. And I like seeing that the level, we're through like basket one. That's it. Basket one of, there's 5 more after this. I'm telling you, there's so much inspiration. I don't even want to, like, time is out. That I said to Mario, like, don't even bother with time today. It's just, it is what it is. Because I don't want to rush it. I can't rush it. This is like, I was that kid at Christmas that like would probably annoy most people. I didn't want to just rip it open. I wanted to like enjoy the process. And when it comes to creativity, I want to enjoy this as well. So Suzy made this clipboard. This is an idea-ology clipboard. I love the idea behind this. Is a little note. Oh, specimen black glow. I love the idea because you may not want to make something in a vignette box. You may not want to just make a card. You may want to kind of go in the middle. And I love the idea of a clipboard. These are idea-ology clipboards, so they're mini. But you can get a clipboard from the dollar store, the office supply store, a used one at the thrift store, and alter it because it's a cool foundation because clipboards are great to hang. They're super easy to hang because it already has that mechanism. But this one, oh, there's that black. So this is the black paste that we did with Distress, that texture paste, opaque black. I love what it did to that wonderful clip. These are the idea-ology toadstools wired on with a little bit of moss by the light of the moon. And then there's a window with transparencies. I love the whole idea. So this moon, this has glow. I can just tell already that that would glow. And the thing to remember about glow, because there's a lot of makers that use glow, and I know that for their social, they're going to probably post, you know, photos with it and with it glowing. The thing to be reminded of with glow in the dark is like when you were 5, right? Where it charges by light, whether it's natural light, daylight, but the brighter the light, the heavier the charge, so you can charge it with a flashlight, and then it will glow. And it will glow for a limited amount of time, just enough for your 5-year-old brain to smile and run around the neighborhood with your glow-in-the-dark sticker or whatever that is, and then it needs to be charged again with light. That's science,
You mean
people.
It just doesn't work forever?
It's not a flashlight, but it's glow. And I think what's important to remember is that if you send someone a card with grit paste glow, put a little note in there, like hold it under the light and then shut the lights off and smile for the next few minutes, because that's the immediate joy, but it's also limited. I think when we were 5, it probably seemed to last for days, but it's not a glow stick and it's not a flashlight, but it is cool. So just remember that when you're using it, charge it up and let it shine. The brighter the light, the bigger the shine. But yeah, it'll be a few minutes of happy, and then you could just do it again and again. But I love this use of the palette. Very cool baseboard, and I also love seeing that little toadstool and the spiders. Great, but I bet that moon's going to glow beautifully. We'll see that a little later. Very cool. All right, moving on. As we go through the world of ideology, you're going to see so many different substrates transformed. This one Paula did. This is the new Etcetera that we launched last month with Stampers Anonymous. It's so nice to have panels now, so you can see how thick this is. We've got panels, we've got tiles, and that's what Paula used to create this masterpiece. I love it. It's fabulous, using the backdrops. Now, the thing to remember is obviously if you have something that's big like this and your backdrop is 6 by 10, and I'm not sure if Paula's going to share this on her blog, but she did tell me about it, that you can strategically cut your paper to create bigger or cover bigger surfaces. So in this case, it's that paper, but by cutting pieces and going around the outside, this paper is not actually in the middle that's going to be covered up. So it does allow you to just cut your paper, and you can see the little seams there, but you don't notice any of that. So sometimes when you think, oh, I can only use it on something small. No, just plan it out where you're like, okay, I'm going to cut this because I don't need that crackle paper in the middle because I'm going to cover it with tiles. But look how fabulous all these layered tiles are. I love how some are stacked, where she's got backdrops, she's got ephemera, she's got number strips. I love the 31. There's the hardware smash with the texture hammer. So we have those large fasteners. That's why we wanted that texture hammer for ideology, so we can create those little dents. If you haven't used a texture hammer yet, Halloween is the time to break that thing out. I love these ornate, these are ideology every day, but these beautiful flourishes, fabulous. And look at that house. That's all cut out. That she took that piece of ephemera and cut out that house. There's the moon in the back, splattered and swirled. It may glow, I'm not sure. Beautiful. I love the nail, that little tack nail just for the ephemera. The other piece, oh, another bouquet. See, they're just going to kind of pop up everywhere. So see this little fringity bit? This is what I was saying about mummy cloth, that just using mummy cloth just to tuck in, just for the fray, that's where the magic is when you see all these little elements. And I love that frame. See, there it is again. I can't help but touch it. Curious things. And that little creeper, when we found that photo, it's very haunting. We needed to put that in that layers pack. Just beautiful. Such a great make. But this is something, again, if you're not really in the vignette space yet, but you want to do something a little bit more than a card, this is a great way to try your hand at collage and layer it, or just build. So this is the kind of thing that's really my jam, is just taking things and just building and layering. But what a fabulous scene, huh? So good, Paula. Man, so inspiring. And you can incorporate die cuts, really whatever it is that you want to incorporate, you definitely can continue to incorporate. All right, let's move on to this piece, because I can't wait to open it. I have not opened this yet. Vicki made this. I love, that was the effect that I was saying about taking the transparencies and using a wood burning tool or something hot. You can even like heat up a needle. If you're going to do this, guys, just be safe about it. It's hot, and it also emits a smell when you're going through plastic. These weren't designed to burn. So if you're inspired by this and you're going to do it, like, do that outside. Be safe with whatever hot pokey tool you're using. But the effect, well, it's pretty impactful. Very cool. I love these tattered edges where it does make a transparency look like a mica tile. Isn't that cool? I love that effect. It's just fun. This slides off. That's all I was instructed. Because like, just take that and slide that off. Because this is one of the idea-ology accordion folio. So this structure, this is sold in idea-ology that you can cover. So you can cover it with paper. So here, this is black craft stock that's been sanded. I love the finish of it. I love the details, Vicki, where it's all stitched together. But that's what you get when you sand craft stock, is you get down to that craft core, and it just has such a, it almost feels like suede. It's really good. Then as we open this, all right, we've got just cool, I love it already. For skills and amusement only, one of my favorites. Curious things, there's a, this is one of the stencil cards that we have in ideology. All right, so a curious description. The way he stares, things are not what they seem. Wonderful secret. Swathed in dust and cobwebs. Mischief. Most unusual. Was it his imagination found? He must have gone crazy. What are you seeing? Yes. Oh, that would be why. Take a look at that. Oh, here's an accordion folio. Thanks, Mario. See, Mario's good like that. He's like, here you go. This is what it is. This is the structure for this. All right. So there he is. I was like, I couldn't wait to meet him, right? So you read that story like, I couldn't wait to meet who he is. Look at him. Oh my word. So there's the eye. I'm just like, where did she get that eye? So that's the eyeball. You saw that on, well, you saw it on several makes. I think even like Luise did that as well. I think Suzy, yeah, you've seen that eye. That's from Ephemera, but I love how it's in that gear. Little glossy accents over the top filled in, or resin. There are the mini gears. There's that big layers, but look at that. Oh, super cool. Okay, so that's a, do you have that? Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
So this thing, the way this works, it has this gusset here, because this comes with like a little pull-out accordion book, but you don't have to use it. She didn't use it. But that little gusset right there, I love that use. That's super clever. Thanks, Mario.
It's so hard to believe.
To have a matchbox in there, because that's part of the actual structure. But what a clever idea to hide this little matchbox of curiosities in there. So you can use the idea-ology matchboxes. We sell blank matchboxes, but you can also just cut something out of paper or have any type of little vignette. But look at all those little trinkety bits in there. We've got a little tiny vial, that's idea-ology, with toxic, little confections. There's a little skull in there, a little key, that little spider. Oh, just perfection. And I do love all these spiders hanging everywhere. So this is what I was saying, is I have that tiny little loop so you can have them hanging off of things. They're just kind of all over. One of my favorites, little crossbones. But take a look at the use of the strips from wallpaper, but I also love the use of layers, backdrops. There's some machine heads, of course, a pointy finger. I don't know, does this, something has to come out. Little optical lens with the little lost and found. I don't want to take anything out that's not supposed to. Okay, maybe it's this. If it isn't, I'll find out in seconds. But look at that little grungy, I love these optical lenses. I miss these. We had these in the line forever, but these retired quite a while ago. I love those because of the glass. But what a brilliant make, right? When you see that, you see all of that imagination that just kind of gets folded up and then tied. Like, Bam is right. That is brilliant, Vicki. So, so good. Just, yeah, I want to make this. I do. I love it.
I think I'm
Brilliant,
going to nail
brilliant.
that onto my table.
Yeah,
and just leave
it's
it
good.
there.
Yeah, you should. This next make, Marlies created this. So this is one of those explosion boxes, if you've seen, where you take paper and you create this box template. I've not opened it yet, but I can't wait to see what it is. But so it starts out as just a box that's all done in paper and stitched. And I can't wait to see what Marlies has in store for us. I love the detail of using the backdrops to create the bow, and of course all the stitching. That doesn't go unnoticed doing paper. I know a lot of people, I love the look of just sewing through paper and leaving the threads, but you could still do this with glue and adhesive, all right? I'm not sure if there's a front or back, but we'll find out in a second. But you take off the lid, and there it is. That's the whole explosion thing where everything just, oh, I did it perfect. Look at those eyes. I'd have done that if I tried. As soon as this popped open, it's totally looking at you. That is so cool. All right, let's take a deeper dive. So first, take a look at that whole little arrangement right in the center where we've got the skull. He's sitting on some bones, little spider. See, bouquet again, this time in red. Thank you, makers, for just using those. Those flowers are so good. I love these little packages with the label. These creepy eyes. So these retired, I think, 2 years ago. You can still find them, but they are hard to find. I stocked up on these two. I love them, and I love how she layered them over those ephemera eyes. And then we've got the little flashcards from ephemera, ghostly and wicked. But look at the bones, how they're tied up in that thread. That is fabulous. These little envelopes, these tiny little paper envelopes, and these are like little books. So these, I don't think these books come out, but they just look like little composition books as a background or a foundational piece. And then as that layer closes, then you really have like each of these art cards, if you will. And there's your inspiration. So even if you're like, oh, I don't want to have that box, that's too complicated. I get it, but you can still take that and say, okay, I'm gonna create ATCs, or I'm gonna do that on a card, or I'm gonna do that on the back of a vignette panel, or I'm gonna do that on a wood, etc., or I'm gonna do it on a frame. Each little piece of art, I just love the details and what can be used. Again, there's that mummy cloth. We saw that wonderful color in the book, and the little Liza bat wings. And again, when you're making stuff, like when she did the wings for the book, do the wings for something else. Just do all of that, because I think that's really important, that you can sit down and compartmentalize your way of making. You can take this and just say, I'm just going to glitter wings today. I'm just going to make a bunch of little books today. I'm going to make little folded envelopes today. I'm going to tatter and ink the edges. And then you can assemble. So depending on however your creative brain or process works, I just love that. I love these little tags too. I'm so glad we have these in Halloween, because they just add that perfect little detail that just go off of that tag. Life and death. Kids, see, just get your creep on. There's a little slide frame, so that's from chapter 3, die cut out of the backdrop. So see that little specimen slide frame with the tag? I don't think this pulls out, but no. But a great use for that slide frame. Is there one over here too? Yep, I didn't notice it in the first one, notice it in the second one. But I love, so get out your dies, get out really whatever inspires you, but how fabulous is that? So good, brilliant thing. And then it just folds up, and you could have your little charms
really cool.
tucking in. Yeah, isn't that cool?
I don't
Well, Mario goes,
Never mind.
he goes, there's something here and it's supposed to explode. And I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Like, I've heard of those.
I'll try it.
Yeah, it's really,
We'll just sit here and watch
it's
YouTube.
really cool. Yeah, I got lucky on the opening. Really fun.
That's awesome.
I love the inspiration. I love creating different things. So I was inspired to create something because when I did the transparency and I did the bats, I always envisioned these just flying out of a shattered window. So I created this clock. So I love the Curio clock with idea-ology. I just sanded mine. So I used the sanding disc that we did with Ranger. It was so easy to take that sanding disc and just drag it all over the painted finish. So that's all I did here. The back opens and there's nothing on the front. This little ring pops out. So it was really easy for me to add this transparency to the top, and I love that shattered. I wanted to do a little graveyard scene. And so then all I did on these bats, because you get multiples of each one, is I just took little bits of score tape. So I didn't use any liquid glue. Tape was much easier. And then I sandwiched two back to back. So this way, depending on how you look at it, because the back of these are white, and I offset them a little bit just to create that little highlight so they would show up. But I took a piece of rusty wire, kind of have it spiraling out so they fly, plus they have just a little doing, kind of thing. Oh, there's my little skull in there. He kind of pops around. But this, I just did little tiny lights in there. So in there we have the moon, we have layers. That's what I created on the backdrop. Took a little branch from the yard and then created a cemetery scene. So I've got moss down here. I've got that little bones that I snapped to kind of come out. There's the skull. There's a little crossbones. But to make him look like part of the tombstone, I just added a little grit paste crypt and then did a little distress paint. But I do love tiny lights. There's my tiny lights. See, they're not fancy. I just use a little bread tie and wrap the wire and then stick this on. But I like just having that switch just kind of free for that. And we've got that little skull, and I just wanted it to be, I don't know, just fun and a little interactive, whimsical.
Let's talk about
It's
the
fun.
background of that.
I do love that.
Perfect.
Yeah, I love that moon. So that's one of the layers. And then in there is just a little polyfill that I mixed with some collage medium to create some clouds. That's kind of fun. I love the moss. And then I love something dreadfully wicked. Just stuck on with some collage medium. But cool. Yeah, Mario really loves the finish of the clock. He goes, what did you do? I'm like, I sanded it. That was it.
You did
But it's
really
cool.
Good.
So anyway, the fun thing, so keep that in mind too. Maybe you're going to do a pop-up card. Maybe you're going to do something where you've got the bats that pop up out of a card. But this is an easy make. Honestly, this make is, you know, just an afternoon. You can go and fill it with whatever stuff you want. But I think that the tiny lights, and they're just tucked behind there. There's nothing fancy about it.
How do you attach the tiny lights to the back? What do you use?
So for this, I just use the foam squares. So those are black foam
Simon,
squares
yeah.
from Simon Says, but they make the thin ones. So I just stick that on because the battery pack, because we can just open the battery pack and you can change out the batteries. So it's totally up to you how you want to install this. But this thing has like little snaps and you can snap it open and snap it closed. And then on the clock, you can see I cheat. So see how like the back is sealed, but then as it gets down here, it's a little bit wider. Because my wire goes in, I didn't want to drill a hole or be bothered. You could, but I just didn't want to be bothered with that. So that's how I hid mine. And then if you're going to glue them, you can use hot glue or tape. Just don't hot glue on the actual light part because you can get it to short out. But fun. I just wanted to share that idea about like the bats kind of flying around. It's really good. Okay. I agree, Tami. It is like that little sparkly bottom. It is very much like Peter Pan. I was inspired by the little stars in that moon background. You're always inspired. That's what it is. So Paula has an inspiration story. I believe she said this had something to do with Harry Potter inspiration. So this is a vignette tray. So the ideology vignettes, we have lots of different structures, right? We've got boxes and trays and divided things. But I love that this tray could be used horizontal or vertical. But it's just another great backdrop because it just looks like rusty, chippy metal. And then that damask wallpaper on the back. I love how she mixed this kind of wood panels. So it's like a little beadboard on the back, and then that flower. And then we have these. So in here we've got the stickers, but then we also, these are ideology. I think they're called, I don't know. I think they might be called Curio frames. Not quite sure. Don't quote me on the name, but they're metallic chipboard frames inspired by these vintage daguerreotypes. But I love that when we did them, we wanted them to scale to work together. So you still get a little bit of that reveal. Paula went and painted these and kind of distressed these a little bit. Ah, there we go, Hogwarts. Yes, the halls at Hogwarts and the spiders. See, there we go. And then we've got all these little insects going around. And I love just the layers, because see how they're just crawling in under the frames. I think that's so brilliant that they can come out. There we go, see? I just trust my gut on that with the Curio frames. But I love, Paula, how they're creeping out and creeping in. In behind there again, there's another one of those manor frames that go around. And then the little scene at the bottom. And that's the thing about creating this. You can make the most amazing little vignette scenes. So here we have the drippy candles on the candle stands. So you can see how perfect. You can alcohol ink these, paint these, whatever. There's a cork vial. There's a figure stand. You see that little hat on the stand? That's one of the figure stands. Another little tiny vial, the spider. I love how they're just tipped over with all the little details. Again, that little fringe from mummy cloth, but just that little scene at the bottom, right? You can just stop right there. You could make one little scene with that, but I love the extension of that just to tell the story. And that is it's so inspiring to see all of these pieces come together. But yeah, that little top hat, because these are metal, I love the figure stands. I do. Yeah, we have some new ones coming next year. Just you wait. They're cool. Once we figured out we can do it, man, that's it. The race is on. And then you can see here, this is just that trim tape. So we have design tape that's thin, cut just the perfect size to go over the edges of the vignettes. So you can get it. There's several different rolls in there, different designs, but I love how you can easily cover this up. You can use paint or strips of paper, but the tape makes it super, super easy. And then collage medium for the win, because that's what collage medium is, just this magic medium. Because it is a matte finish, that it doesn't matter whether you're using paper, tape, layers, paper dolls, things that have different weights and different finishes. When you cover everything with collage medium, it just gives everything that same balance, if you will. So if you're using different things and you're making things with it, just keep that in mind. Go over it with a layer of collage medium. You can rub that in with your hands or you can brush it on, but it just gives everything that balance. So it's not like, oh, this is shiny and this is matte and this has a different finish than that. It just balances everything. Really cool, right? All of those little elements. And again, that little nailed on snippet. So cool. So good. I love the entomology.
Because
it looks textured.
Yeah, it's so
I know. Mario wanted to feel this because he thought it was crackle paste.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just the paper.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's just the backdrop.
God, who made the paper?
So good. I know. Someone should design paper like that. It's good. All right. Then we get into some more cards. So Cheiron created these cards. And what I really like, the reason I kind of put these a little different than the other ones is seeing all of these paper elements in the junk journals and collage and how you can create them. And again, as card makers, where you think, how would I ever use these? So Cheiron's really great at creating series of cards, especially for ideology. So it's not just like, here's one idea. It's like, here's one idea, use many ways. Because obviously you've seen with ideology that you would have a pack of ephemera or a pack of photos or a sticker book. So just to have one idea is not enough. So again, thanks, Cheiron. I love having cards to showcase. So here, this is just showing using the metal elements, but then layers. There's the paper dolls. I love how she gave him just those kind of creepy red eyes. Using the skull sticker, again, ephemera, and then just stitching around that. But this really, adding paint or crayon creates such a beautiful look to a card foundation. Adding dimensional elements, oh my gosh, I just noticed she cut out his hand. I was like, it looks okay. So these paper dolls, look at these little guys with their masks. He's got the best face ever. But I love how she went in and just kind of cut their little hands and then put it over confections. He's probably sad because he really wanted this one because he likes black licorice like I do. And he's like, why do I get orange and you get that? Yeah, Paula likes orange slices. I like black licorice. So there we go. Curious things. And then I love how she paired in the confectionery, that layers, a little bit of hardware heads there, and the paper. But see how you can just layer that ephemera? So great, super charming. And then these just collage tags. I love that if you're a tag maker, you can do tags if you do ATCs, or you can turn them into cards. But I love all of the effects of these because again, it's repetition. It's taking that stuff and saying, all right, I'm going to collage my tags first. So you get out a stack of tags, get out your ephemera, get out your collage medium, and just create patchworks, which is what Cheiron did. Just glue all of these. Then maybe you're going to get out your sewing machine, stitch around them, right? So you have all your stuff. You're getting out all the stuff, you just want to do it. These right here are also from Ideology. They're just the fabric scraps, so they already come with the decorative stitching, but you can attach them with a tiny attacher. You can glue them on, but it just gives another detailed element. These right here, these are label stickers. These did not come back this year. Very sad, but I stocked up and I gave Cheiron a heads up. I know she did as well, because these are plastic, so they look like vintage label maker. I love these stickers. They're so good, but they didn't come back for Halloween. And then we've got the paper dolls, and I love how she just has those just dimensionalized. So again, collaging, stitching, fabric element, focal point raised with a little foam dot, and then your sentiment is those label stickers. Yeah, people ask like, what determines what comes back and what doesn't? Honestly, sales. If stuff sells out and it does well, then it has a chance to come back another year. And if it doesn't, well, move on to other things, and that's okay. But they're beautiful. Just such a great use of papers and elements. And I think all the makers, they just have such a cool, unique way of using it, and it blows my mind. So another maker for Ideology, and this one I was pleasantly surprised when I saw this one. Marina makes a lot of wonderful books and journals, but to have something like dimensional like a box, I was very intrigued when I took this out because I was like, who made this? You know, Mario had this sorted and he's like, don't adjust, don't shuffle. I was like, okay. And I'm like, who made this? He's like, oh, Marina made this. I go, she did? So I'm super intrigued. Here's what I love about this already. So this is an Ideology vignette card file. So this is the file that we have the file cards in. You may have seen stuff used for a lot of different papers and card keepers. But these, I don't know if you can hear it. Put it up to my mic, you can hear it. So these are like chunky. These are done with baseboards, different pieces of chipboard. So whether you're using chipboard, baseboard, or etc., you can use that, and it looks like there's even a little vignette box in here as well. So I thought that was a really great way to take a card file that I've seen done with paper, but make dimensional elements. Because, oh, there's little, oh, see, even these little frames. So these right here, these are Etcetera. These are those little risers that we put in. I love how she cut those and made little window frames that are shattered on both sides. That's really clever to cut these and create that little frame. All right, let's get into it because I need to. I was like, I want to pick these up and go. So each little card is like a work of art. It's something that could go on the front of a journal, be a card itself, hang on something, even if you're using a hinge clip. You know, another thing, I'm going to grab them because I have all my trinkets in that counter right behind me. But we do these hinge clips in Idea-ology. So we've got two sizes, small and large, but we also do the tiny clips. But this is really great that if you had a piece like this, you can take one of these clips, you can clip it right over the top, and that could hang. This is also a great way to hang a banner. If you make pieces, you don't want to glue it or you don't know how to store it, just get a piece of string, jute, whatever you want for your mantle, get these clips. What makes these different than the ones you find at the dollar store or anywhere is the finish. These are that great antique plated finish. But this is a great way that you can just clip it right onto that string or wire, and then you create a banner, and then you can take it down. So make someone a little Halloween banner kit, if you will. But I love him. I love his little candy corn balloon or light. It actually, I don't know what the intention was, but I think the fact that she layered it on that little curator, it's like a glow around it, so it's like a little light. I love he's holding that calendar, no chemicals used, and just you got that creeper in the back of that shatter. And I just say he's a creeper just because he's peeking through the window. Nothing bad. Very cool. See, just the whole, in this case, this is what I just, hello, Captain Obvious. The baseboard is the shape of the thing. That's brilliant, right? This is not stuck onto a rectangle. This is just the card. So I love that it started with the window, then create that little layer. This is fabric back there, so those little eclectic elements, I can tell by the texture in there. And then invited guests, a little paper doll. This is tinted with glaze. So distress embossing glaze, wonderful to tint paper dolls with. You can use the distress embossing marker, put that on there, use that little pen and do a color and tint that way. I love that. All right, this next guy. So this where you can get into Etcetera, so you can have that thick board as a foundation. Etcetera, if you ever want to cut it short, you can just cut it with a craft knife. Just, you know, use a straight edge ruler and just take your time slicing through it, but you can trim this down or leave it the same size. I love him. Look at that. It's like his little pet bat. That's so brilliant. That's so brilliant, Marina. I love the details. So excited. Because I love his wings, but yeah, just the fact that he's sitting on his hand, you could tell he has a pet bat and he's got the keys and that little floral. But it's really the ability that these makers have. They just have such a style. You know, some are grungy, some do sewing, some do ink. Marina's very much like vintage layers where you can identify every little bit, and there's just that subtle bit of, say, distress or texture. I love the styles. Okay, I should probably put these back in the order. Okay, I got that. That's compartment 1. Let's go into compartment 2. There we go. That makes more sense. Oh, take a look at her. Look at those bones at the top. She's fabulous. We love that little curl there. So this is taking that portrait, putting it behind that baseboard frame. That's the one that I showed popped out, and then layered with little bits of ephemera. So all of these different elements, and the reason we do it in Idea-ology is we want matte paper that has just a faint finish where the color is a little bit more subdued because it is matte paper. We want the shiny bits. That's where we get into layers and paper dolls, where the color is more intense and it has a little bit of sheen. And then of course we want the printed baseboard, something that's thicker, that could be foundational. But all of those components can work together. And this is showing how the shine contrasts with the ephemera, whereas when I talked about Paula's make, if you wanted all this to look matchy-matchy, you just do distress collage medium in matte, and everything will have that same matte finish. But I love just the details of the little bones and that bat on the top. Then we have a tag, look at that, from the sticker book, and using one of this looks like the Etcetera tiles. Could be. And I love just that little bit of gold around the edge. That kind of fooled me with the sticker from the Ideology sticker book. A little sewing around here. This looks hand done. This is like hand stitching, not machine stitching, unless you have a machine that's going to work with the thickest string ever. That is a hand stitched tag right there. So those that don't have a sewing machine, there went the excuses, because that, I mean, my gosh, that's, but see, a lot of people find stitching very therapeutic, just kind of going, and that's really clever. But I like it because it packs a punch, doesn't it? So good. Very, very cool. And then we've got those bouquet flowers just at the top. Absolutely beautiful. I love the little grunge of that. So good, right? So good. Yeah, the backs are all finished. They're definitely finished, but I know the makers will share more in detail, but I got to roll with live. We have the day. We have to go before sundown. Yeah. There we are in there's baseboards again. I love the ephemera. I love those chip layers. See, it's those photos. Very cool. Look at the eyelet used in that curator. Absolutely just cool. A great way to layer foam and taking ink. Just good. Oh, see, they're numbered, Mario.
They are.
Oh, see? Gosh, I wouldn't have been worried about that. That's really clever too, especially if you're going to gift that, then they know how it goes. Really great. Then we have this one. Take a look at this. So taking a vignette, I absolutely love this. Oh, Marina, you did such a great job. So it's just fabulous. It's like this interactive, this is my jam, an interactive file. I love the little cabinet, right? Taking that vignette, little vignette box, covering it. We've got the little lock and key. See that little bit of chain? See how it can just wrap around things and then you can hang it? Because that chain just comes with the jump ring, so you can just open it and lock that up. There's that shattered transparency, the little skull peeking through. You've got the books on the shelf, the drippy candles, little bones, and all these little books, and you're going to see a lot of books. That's all from ephemera. And I love the little ideology, the little hardware knob. Oh, there he is on the back. He's very cool. With the bats, shattered, he's the mad scientist, and a little bone. So good. See, I just love the idea, and I love that it's got the little pull to take it out of the box, right? Goes right in. That's very cool. And then we have our dreadfully wicked finisher. So there is a great example of that sticker. And you can also go and see, I love how Marina just went and made a little slice right there. So you can just make a little cut in that sticker and slide right through there and put it right on there, right on her head. But look at, he's looking through the shadow. I think he's happy he's outside, or he's outside that door. Or maybe he's in. I think he's in, but he's happy he's there, because who wants to be around her? Dreadfully wicked, little mummy cloth, just fabulous, fabulous makes, right? So good. So good.
Could we just talk about
Yes.
the pumpkins now?
I
love the pumpkins.
Which pumpkins? Oh,
feet.
shut up. Look
I've
at that.
been waiting the whole time.
I didn't even notice that. Those are so good.
They're awesome.
These didn't come back this year. They are my favorites. These are Ideology pumpkins. We did these resin pumpkins. They look just like terracotta pumpkins. That is so clever. That is I just thought the box just sat there. I guess didn't even realize that it was off. That is really brilliant. Thanks for calling that out, Mario. That's little pumpkin feet.
I'm waiting for the pumpkins.
Yeah, no, that's really clever. Yeah, because I just took it out and didn't even notice that. That is a great detail. See, it's all about the details. You can look at makes again and again and just find things. Oh, indefinitely. All right. How are we doing? Doing all right?
You're doing so good.
Moving right along.
You need a drink? You need to take a
No.
little, no break?
So far,
no?
I'm good. So far, so
Fill
good.
in for you and you sit down for a few minutes?
No, I'm good, but thank you.
I could have done it during the pumpkins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, though. All right. So this is another make that I did, and I'll do a quick little demo. That'll kind of shake things up. How about that? I told you I absolutely love these things. I do, and I was like, I'm gonna make something no matter what. This is like my first thing, and I was inspired by how I decorate my home. Okay, our home. And what I love is that Halloween could be scary, but it could be whimsical and vintage. And you know that if I'm going to do a make, I'm going to light it up. So I did light them up. I have a candy corn tree filled with my favorite treats, my sugary candies. And I know candy corn isn't sugared, but in my world it is. And then we've got these little jack-o'-lanterns, and how I decorate them. If you've seen our Halloween home decor tour, you know that I have little party hats on my jack-o'-lanterns. And I like that for a couple things. I love that it gives them a totally different look and aesthetic. It's really fun. But I also like that it kind of traps the light inside. And so I figured I'd just share and do a little break demo. But this, I use the card file as well. So it's the same card file that Marina just used, but I use mine as a stand-up vignette. And so this is a little Etcetera trim. I just went in and cut mine shorter because the edge of the trim is usually thick. Again, just a craft knife. There's one of the bats. This is from a previous release. That's one of the decorative tapes. You can see I use my favorite marble paper on the inside. Yeah, that's a woodland tree that I stained candy corn color. And then these are just wooden knobs. You can use wooden beads if you want, but you can find at the craft store wooden knobs because they have a flat edge, right, with like a screw hole in them. But I just painted these with distress paint, sanding disc, and off you go. And then I just used the backdrops like in the cigar box because I just love that, and did the same thing, backdrops on the back. So it looks like an old cigar box. And then there you go. There's my tiny lights with the little switch. I could have used pumpkins, I know, right? But instead I use that. But see, yeah, it's clever. So I figured I would just give you a little demo, a little tutorial on these guys because they're fun. So that is what I've planned. I think it's good. So have a little demo plan. Did a little prep last night. This is something that I was like, oh, no, ideology is normally not the demo thing, but these are just too fun that I really want to make sure you understand them and you're inspired by them. Okay, so these elements, they kind of can be found a little bit everywhere, but I'll first talk about these little guys themselves. So as I mentioned, they've got holes in the bottom. So first we'll talk tiny lights. Now, tiny lights, you can do different colors. I just use white on mine. The thing about tiny lights is they were designed to be cut, and I know some people have an issue with that. So if you don't want to cut them, I'll tell you another option. But what I like about this is that it does allow you to take one strand of lights, go in one area of your project, and light up different things. So when I did my tiny lights, I knew where I wanted to start because it does have like a thicker plastic cord, and that's going to be your stopper. I don't normally thread this plastic into any of my makes because it's really thick, whereas the wire is super small and these lights are really small. But you do what you want, but that's usually my starting point. So I inserted a couple of lights. I knew that I wanted just one light in my jack-o'-lantern, but I wanted one left in there as the back, so it can kind of light up in the background. And then I came out, and then I drilled another hole, and I went in here. I brought it all the way up, I don't know if you can see, all the way up to the tree. So head on, it glows a little higher than these, but I didn't want to wrap my tree in lights. That was just me. But I went up, went back down, came into this guy, went in. You can't see it because this is already taped to the back. Added my two lights, came out, and then you cut them. And that's the thing to know about tiny lights. When you get them, you pull out the tab, and then they should turn on and off. They start by wrapping around. You can undo this to determine how many lights you're going to need for your project. And the wire is very forgiving, but you also, when you first get it, it's just easier to kind of undo it a little bit, I don't know, relax, if you will. Don't just pull it because then it just becomes a knotted mess. All right, so once you have your tiny light, they go a little everywhere, but it's wiry. So you could even use these for the bats and put tiny light behind the bat if you want. So when we start, the thing to know is that you have all of these lights to work with. And some people, because you feel like I bought this, I'm going to use every light there. Okay, if you need it, yes. But if you just want your make to shine like a beacon, sometimes too much light is not good. So don't be afraid to cut them. If you were just going to light up just a single jack-o'-lantern, in my opinion, one tiny light is plenty. So all I did, I'm just going to fold this just to show you that you're just going to feed it up through that hole that's there, and you can light it up, okay? But you can see how bright one light is. So you can imagine if you put 3, 4, 5, you could totally do that. Put as many as you want, okay? You do you. But when you're done, when you've decided how many lights you want, be that 1, 2, 3, if you're going to use all of them, when you're finished, you're just going to go in with your scissors, make sure the lights are shut off. It's not going to shock you, but it's just not, I mean, you could do it with the light on. It doesn't really, it just doesn't matter. I do it just because I like to do it. And then you're just going to go in and you're going to cut the lights, and wherever you've cut off, those are done. save it for craft wire, save it for whatever. But these, oop, there go the hats. But they don't light up anymore. So you can use it for whatever it is that you want to use it for, okay? This is what we're left with. You just don't cut at the end. If you cut here, everything's gone. So it's pretty much from the end you start cutting in. And these are your lights. They're cool to the touch. It's just it's an LED light. And that's an easy way that you can go in and utilize your tiny lights, okay? Can you color these with alcohol ink? Yes. Can you color them with a Sharpie or a Copic? Yes. But they don't, the light is so bright that they don't really cast the same color as the colored lights, which is why we do them. Because you think, well, why do I need purple or green? You can definitely alcohol ink them, but you won't get the same glow as the ones that we do, and that's why we did them. But again, you do what works, okay? But let's say you don't want to use tiny lights. Let's say, Tim, I don't want to be bothered. I just love them because if I was going to put this somewhere, you know, I'm actually just going to cut all of these off because I only need one, okay? Because I'm only going to do this one jack-o'-lantern. So if I have this light on the guy and I'm only going to do one, I like that I can glue this down and I have this tail. So if I was going to put this light somewhere, I can still hide this behind my regular decorations, and I have a switch to turn them on and off. Okay, that's what I really like. If you want to diffuse the light in here, because you can see that it's super bright, comes on really bright. One thing that I use is just save some of your packaging, any cello bags, cellophane. You can just take a little bit of, this is way too much, just take like a little piece. You can rip it, cut it, tear it, and just kind of wad it up. And it's going to do a couple of things. One, I like to go in and make sure that my light is kind of, I don't want the light, I'll show you. I don't want the light shooting out of his mouth. He's not a dragon, okay? Maybe you want a dragon pumpkin, I don't know, or a dragon cat. Work the same on a cat. But when it's secured, I just go with my finger and I bend the light backwards, and then I take this cellophane and I just shove the cellophane in there, because what that does is, besides that, it just kind of, you can't see it when it's in your make, okay? But to me, it kind of diffuses the light and it brings it more up to everywhere. So I can see it like in his eyes and his mouth, and you could alcohol ink this if you wanted it, if you wanted this a different color, but that's just what I use as a diffuser. But you want to make sure that it definitely gets in front of that light, okay? So far, so good. So if you don't want to be bothered, I'm going to use my scissors as tweezers. There we go. If you don't want to be bothered utilizing tiny lights, because you're like, I just want to sit on the shelf and I don't want to have a switch, here's another option. You can find these, I found mine on Amazon, you might find it in a craft store, but these are LED balloon lights. Balloon lights, they're common, that's what you find, like you go to Disneyland, they have the balloons that light up. And this is how they come. Usually you buy like 100 at a time, they're very inexpensive. You know, they're like $15 for 100. You can buy them in all different colors. You can buy them in white, red. This happens to be warm white. And how they work is they've got this little plastic tab, much like what you pull out from behind the tiny lights. But this is in fact your switch. It is a one-hit wonder. So these aren't designed to be replaced. You can't replace the batteries like you can in tiny lights. They're designed to be disposable. You can actually put these in water, which I thought was interesting. But that little slot there, that's where you put this plastic tab to shut it off. So it kind of separates the batteries. So technically, if you were going to use them, you could turn it on, and then when you're done, you could save this tab and put it back in. But what's great about this little tiny light is that you can drop it in, and it will do essentially the same thing that a tiny light will do. It's just this little ball that maybe you'll get it to land. There you go. You shake it, you get it to land the way you want it. You can still put your cellophane in there, and that would probably, cellophane is like static charge. That would probably hold it in place, right? But there you go. That's an easy thing to do. So that's another option, okay? Because I love tiny lights, but sometimes I don't want tiny lights. Sometimes I just want to, I don't care, because I have 100 of these, and when they burn out, they burn out. I don't know the time or how long it lasts, but they're pretty great. So that's another little option. Like I said, then when you're done for the night, if your battery hasn't burned out by then, you can just slide that little thing back in, and that shuts them off. So there you go. LED balloon light, okay? And some come with a little loop to hang on. You find whatever works. Oh, Simon Says has them. So there you go. Maybe you don't have to buy 100, because I don't think you really need 100, but hey, you might be doing a party. All right. Speaking of party, let's get into the hat. I've talked about the lights. I've talked about tiny lights. Now we'll just talk just fun about the hats. So these little hats, They're just fun to do. This is really easy. There's really not a template required. I didn't use a template, and so I don't have a template, but I made one. And I just think they're fun. And there's many ways that you can do it, I'm sure, out of many different things. So don't judge the idea, okay? So what I started with is, actually I started with a roll of tape. That was going to be my template. All right, Mario's saying square it up. How are we doing? Good?
Good.
Thanks, Mario. Always looking out for me. He's a good guy. All right. I started with idea-ology backdrops. Now, like I said, we have a lot of different ephemera base, but I really wanted this year to have these tiny little stripes because look, they're perfect, and tiny little dots, okay? So to make a hat, it's really quite simple. You can go on YouTube. There's a lot of different things different templates that you can do. I've seen little hats on plastic animals. And when I saw what the template was, I'm like, okay, I think I can kind of make my own. And you just have to wing it. What I found is like the inside of my tape, that was really my template. It's about a 3-inch circle. So if you have any kind of packaging tape or tape rolls, you could even use a 3-inch circle die. But that's what I started with. And then I kind of started by cutting it in half, but then it made my hat really, really wide at the bottom, like a funnel. And so I went about, I don't know, like a 1/3 in. And that's really the template. So you can start by tracing a circle, 3-inch circle, and then do one cut and then cut it off at about, I don't know, so do like 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 10:30, okay? But you can, once you make one, so now I just made one out of chipboard, call it hat, you're done, and you have a template. And then you can take your template, trace it down on your paper. That's what I've done here. I just used a pen, any kind of pen that you can see. It can be a white pen. You can trace on the back. And then you're going to cut it out. Now, when you cut it out, this is what it is. And the other important thing about this that I learned when I was making it is the top. I just notched mine out because I found that when I was making these, that I didn't like that the paper was gathered at the top. It made it really challenging for me. So I just kind of notch it out. You can cut it straight across or do a little curve, but that's, and again, you learn all these tips from the people on YouTube. That's what it is. So this is what I have. I've got my 2 little hats cut out from idea-ology backdrops. So far, so good? Okay.
So far, so good.
All right. So once you have your paper, you're going to want to turn it into a cone, essentially, because these are our little hats that we're going to make. Turn it into a cone. One of the things that I found easier to do is to have some sort of tools, be that a craft pick, anything round that I could take this and just use it to help relax the paper in a curvy motion, if that makes sense. So just take whatever you have, and then it's almost like you're just rolling your paper across. It's just relaxing the paper. See, paper doesn't have a memory, remember that? It can go as flat as you want it to be again. But if you just start it flat and you bend it, sometimes you'll get a crease, or it's just a little bit more challenging. So just relax. Talk to the paper. We're going to a party. Just relax. You're good. Okay, you're good to go. So when you're creating this, I've got a glue gun heating up on the side. Just going to put my little mat down because I want that to get hot. There we go. I tried a lot of different adhesives. So you do what's going to work. I tried hot glue. I wasn't quick enough with the hot glue for this. Maybe because of the size of my fingers, they just got in the way. I tried collage medium. That did not dry quick enough for what I wanted. So really, I just ended up with score tape. This is just a thin double stick tape, so it could be any kind of tape, but you do what's going to work for you, okay? This little thin tape, I love it because it's like 1/8 of an inch tape, so I use it for a lot of different things. And you're just going to take this, I can already feel that one's not sticky just because of my fingers, and you're going to take that little bit of tape and put it on one edge, whichever edge you're going to overlap. I tend to put it right along the right side. Place that down, stick your finger down, and then just like rip the tape away from it. So this is what we have. We've got our little relaxed paper, we've got our strip of tape. Make sure that the tape is down. Take your little pick, peel off the tape, because that's just the easiest way to do it. And then you kind of use your thumb or your finger or whatever, and you just start making your hat. And the goal is to try to line these points up at the bottom without having it open at the top. So you'll see, you just kind of wing it. That's what's also nice about this tape. It's a little forgiving. So once I roll this, I'm trying to do this through my phone. I stick the edges on the bottom, you see right there. And then I start tucking in that paper as I go to the top. So I start at the bottom and then just push it as I get to the top. This is what I was saying. See, by having that paper notched out, you don't get that traffic jam, okay? So there we go. Then I just kind of seal that tape. If you have something misaligned, see right there where it's a little misaligned? Yeah? You see where it's misaligned? Oh, you don't? Okay. There you go. So you can just trim that off. But that, to me, works. Again, you can do whatever's going to work for you. Then I wanted to create some sort of trim. And you can do a lot of different trims. I happen to pick up these little metallic pipe cleaners or chenille stems. I love these little sparkly ones. Liza, look, there's black and purple and orange. They're fun. They're super easy to use. I love the different colors they come in. But there again, I'm a compartmental maker. So once I do this, like I just get in like party hat mode where I would make these for, I think this would be great for little party invitations. I think there's just so many different things you can do with little tiny party hats actually. So once I had my template, I needed this stem, and because these are wired, I wanted to be able to wrap it around the hat. I found that the Distress blending brush, maybe you have lipstick, chapstick, something, just that size circle, I was able to wrap it around so the wire kept the shape. So see, I just held it with my finger, pulled this, went all the way around, went past where I started, and then let go. So this way I have a start and a finish. Going with my scissors, because the tonic scissors, you can go ahead and cut craft wire. So now I have the perfect trim for the hat. And again, you do what's going to work. Okay? So for this one, I do use a little hot glue. We'll see if my glue gun is hot. May not be hot enough. We'll see. Yes, it's hot enough. Okay. Use a little hot glue gun. I just start at the back because the back is where all the muck is happening anyway. And I start with a little bit of hot glue. Take that little stem, a little chenille stem. In this case, it's metallic. Push it down into that glue. Don't worry about the glue strings. If it's small, if you're temperature sensitive, you can use a remnant rub tool or whatever, but you're just going to tack that down first. And then this just kind of fits around, if you will. Okay. So then I take the other end. I'm back here. A little bit of glue. I'm doing pretty good looking through my phone.
We just talked about yesterday. You're hoo-ha on the fingers in the hot glue.
I've been hoo-ha. I've done this. I think it's my Ben Franklin years. Like when you work with a glue gun, you just go into it. So and then you just go and then by the time you do that, I think it takes your mind off of the fact that it's burning, and then it's gone. Right? You just go twist your fingers and it's out of here. All right. So once you have that, now you have this little flop thing. So all I do is just lift that up, put a little bit of glue in the front, and that's just so when I'm using it, it doesn't go out of alignment. But this is just showing that I do not glue it all the way around. I think that's too much glue to deal with. And so by tacking it in the back and having it in the front, now you have your little sparkly party hat. And then we need to finish the top, and that would be a little pom-pom. Now, who knew that finding little pom-poms, Mario's laughing because he knows what I did last night. I wanted to find little pom-poms, and when I went to the craft store, besides that the smallest ones were like 1/2 an inch, like they only came in like these hideous little metallic colors. In this case, mixed colors. In this case, I wanted black, so I found a pack, and that's what I got, black out of all the other ones. But there again, I went on Amazon last night, and I bought 2,400 pom-poms. But they're like beautiful colors. They kind of look distressed. It was really crazy. So yeah, it was 2,400 pom-poms because they come in 24 colors. So there's like chartreuse and 3 shades of pink, and they're individually sorted. So yeah, I'm telling you what, my OCD brain, it was like really good. Okay. So, and they're 1 centimeter, by the way. They're coming tomorrow. 1 centimeter pom-pom if you're looking for that size. Okay. So what you're going to do is, again, there's the back of the hat, and this is the front. You could stick it right on top, but I felt like when you stick it right on top, you don't really see it as well. So I kind of cheat a little bit. There's so many cool colors in there. So I put my hot glue like right on the tip of that hat right there. And then I take the pom-pom and I kind of start on the front of the hat. So it's on the front, but it's on the top. So you want to push it there. So you want to push it down and hold it. Don't just set it in there, you want it to grab the hat. I don't know if that makes sense. So see, it's on the top, but it's a little forward, but see here, it looks centered. And then you can just peel off that extra hot glue. But you want to push it down so it looks like it's coming out of the hat. Because if you just set it there, it just sits on the top. And there you go, that's your party hat. It's simple. So you can get into total party hat mode. You could ink these could be collage, they could have collage medium. Yes, we could go party hat extreme, but that's what I did for the hat. But then I had my jack-o'-lantern, I had him all lit up. Did I glue the hat on? I did. I just used a little hot glue and I glued the hat on. Look how cute they are with the hat. I think he would be cute with, I couldn't decide who, oh, see, he's cute with that one too. They're cute. But when I put him down, you can totally use them this way. But I wanted my make just to have a little bit more of like a carnival vibe. So I wanted them to have almost like a festooning collar. This kind of trim, this is old school Halloween. It was an idea-ology product that we had. It only made it 1 year, but these are great. This was just this crepe fringe. And what it is, this is crepe paper that's layered. It's real crepe paper, stitched. And what you do, you get 2 pieces in there. This is long retired, but I did place an order at Simon last night. I think I ordered like 16 packs of this because we're not making it again. So I needed to have some after this idea. I'm just like you guys. I am that maker. Like when you have an idea, it's full on. Okay. So what you do with this stuff is once you cut what you need, you just go in and you start rolling it in your hands. You wad it up, you roll it around, and this, I agree. Zoe's like, hoarders are rewarded. Yes. So when you roll this up, this flat stuff turns into this. Because it's crepe paper, it holds this beautiful little shaped fringe. Okay. You could try making your own. You could definitely get streamers and sew it and then go in and do little 1/8 cuts. So it's definitely doable, but I love that we had it, if only for a season. Okay. But it's still out. So what I did is then as my base, I just used checkers because I'm a vintage guy and I had a bunch of checkers, but you could use a wood disc, a wood slice, anything that you want. Okay. Yeah, I just saw.
We do have some fringe. Get it while you can.
Yeah.
Tim went shopping last night.
I did, but if she says they have it, that's what I love about Simon. They,
Go Simon.
Well, I love to shop at places that have live inventory. There's nothing more frustrating than ordering something because somebody says that they have it and you think you're going to get it, so you don't order it anywhere else, only to find out that they cancel your order. Not naming names, but it's happened and it's frustrating.
I know.
Because it's like, look, I just wanted to buy it. If I knew I wasn't going to get it, fine, I would have went somewhere else. So I'm all about live inventory. Okay, I'm taking my checker. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to take the fringe. It doesn't really, once you fringe it up, it doesn't really have a seam anymore. I know you can try to find that seam, but you just tack it down. Then this one I do roll. I'll add like a little bit more hot glue here. I'll just kind of wrap this around. And I'll just hold it with my fingers. You can roll it on your craft mats. Really depends on how sensitive you are. I do love a detail glue gun, something with a really, you can see my glue gun's been dropped a bazillion times, but it still has a pretty fine tip. And don't worry about the glue strings, even though I know it's Halloween and they do make great spider webs because, well, that's how Disney makes spider webs for Haunted Mansion. That's a whole nother story. But you can get rid of these glue strings many ways. You can peel them off or just take your heat tool when you're done making something with hot glue and just wave it over the top, and really the heat from your embossing gun will totally melt all those glue strings. They're gone. So you don't have to go in and pick them off. Once you've wrapped around, just go ahead and cut the fringe. Because it's stitched all the way through, everything else stays together and you just get to use it again. So now you have like this little disc, this little fringy disc. And so you can pull those pieces aside. You can hot glue this guy over the top, even with the tiny lights coming through there. And then when we add our party hat, there we go. See, isn't he great with a little fringed collar? So cute. You can try to put the fringe under the actual pumpkin. I tried that first. It did not end well for me. So that's why I felt that having a base, plus it gave it a little bit more of a fluffy foundation. But isn't he great? Oh, look, even
awesome.
I love with his hat tip back too. It's very cute. But that was really the inspiration behind this. And so I just wanted to share that because sometimes, something as simple as what you see in your house every day can inspire an idea to make. I'm like, oh, little tiny party hats would be cute. And then I saw little hats, but I knew I needed something custom, and I love the fact that I can still use the papers and the candy corn. It's just is a lot of fun. So that was our little tutorial for the hats. That was a nice little break. I hope you guys like that little idea. Now everyone's going to be fringe shopping and pom-pom and sparkly cleaners, and I don't know, but I see like little party hats for birthdays and Christmas and so many great things.
Let me help you.
Wonderful. Thanks. You take that glue gun out.
Stuff up.
Just fun. Just something, like I said, we don't normally do that for ideology, but it was too cute not to share. I had fun making little hats. I do have a stack of hats. I made a lot of them because, well, they were just too cute. Too fun. All right. Yes. Thanks,
Yep.
Mario. Okay. So there we go. Moving on. Moving right along. Yeah, party hats on skulls. I totally agree. That would be good. All right. Cute. Fun. But that sparked the whole use of these little guys, because the whole fun part of using this is all about the style. So here we've got little lights. Here we are. So this, Tami B created this. So this is a vignette. This is a divided drawer. The fun thing about working with these is, yeah, you can have hats, you can have candy coming out of them. So I love how Tami just created this wonderful little confection room, if you will. Here you can see this is the Etcetera, but I love how she used the black texture paste over that. Look at that. She textured her. See, that's where the makers just up their game right there. But there's our little cat. So the tiny lights here, I'll hold it upside down to kind of show how you can really utilize tiny lights. You start where you want to go and do the install. So by creating an overhang, it hides the lights, but it creates that wonderful illumination. If you want something to shine, light from the top, because the top is going to shine down. If you want it for effect, like when I did my clock and I had that purple glow in the back, you put them at the bottom because that's going to shine up and give effect. So illuminate from the top, effect from the bottom. But here you can see those little candies. I love this. There's little drippy candles. I love these little masks. See, and how she just has a story. A strange thing happened in the darkness. And here she's got that cauldron. Look at that, filled with candy corn. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at the drippy candle painted like candy corn. That is brilliant, Tami B. So fun. Taking that drippy candle, that is some serious patience right there. But I love the candy corn drippy candle. But isn't it fun, like all the backdrops, how they have just those playful colors where you can look like wallpaper, but it just has a fun look. I love the candy corn candle. It's so cool. So good. All right, I do love it. And tiny lights. See, tiny lights are fun. Once you get in there and wing it, you got it. I do. I'll send Tami a little party hat. I will, because I know she's thinking party hats, because they're too fun. All right, then we've got the globes, and two makers created these globes, and I absolutely love them. So Stacy created this one. So we got some tiny lights. I'm just going to light them up just so you can see he's in there. But Stacy, I love how she did this globe, because here you can see a little bit of that, like a spider web die cut coming out of the bottom, but look how she wrapped the candy in cellophane. That's super brilliant. And then she's got a little stack of books that he's sitting on, but then she put a drippy candles. Oh, cool. So Stacy used moss in hers. See that little moss tucked in there? That's another good diffuser. I like that idea too. Moss or cellophane, just something in there, because I do think, see, it just kind of breaks up the light. Gosh, moss really breaks it up. It's cool, but I love the drippy candle coming out of the top, because old school jack-o'-lanterns with the candle, that is super clever. Then we've got the little vials, a little stick coming out of an apothecary vial, and the spider, absolutely brilliant. But you can see how, what's nice about these new globes is that they have that bubble effect. And so her lights are just coming up through the bottom and going up through the paper books and in there. But see, one light's all you need. Impactful, definitely impactful. Very cute, Stacy. I love the wrapped candy. So cute. Tiny lights for the win. All right. Then we have another globe. Marina created this globe. See, a totally different story. And I'm really trying, there we go, like the ring light is reflecting really bad. But here's what's great. So Marina actually like carved hers out. That's some serious patience. Carving out the cork and embedding the lights. But look at that. She's got purple ones in hers. Ooh-wee. Very cool. So I love how Marina went in and stacked those jacks in between the books. She's got a book on the top, and then you can see in the back, goes all the way around. We've got that that graveyard tombstone with the little seal. There's a little bone. There's that wonderful adornment, that branch. Another bone here with the skull. She's got the little bats inside, a little bit of the moss, and then we have the gravekeeper, and then mummy cloth and the keys. So we've got the gravekeeper and the keys outside. But see, purple tiny lights, this looks beautiful at night. Look at that purple glow. So you can use whatever color tiny lights you want, but I love the look, and I love how, again, how makers can take very similar components and tell a completely different story. And that's the magic of ideology. It's so beautiful, so charming, really great. So the whole idea of this globe is that you can do other things with it. You can put elements in here, and Jan created this whole little story. This is a vignette book box inspired by Tami B, where it looks like a book. It's such a brilliant idea. Oh, look at that, wicked. But it's really a box. Okay, it's a vignette box, and Tami's done tutorials on this. I think it's really, really amazing. But this lights up. Look at that cauldron. Woo-wee, look at the cauldron. So here, that's the ideology cauldron. There's a little grit paste crib. That's alcohol ink used on the bubbles. Remember the ideology bubbles for Halloween? But I really love how she used that little lace that we have in the sticker book or ephemera, and you could wrap it around the base so it gives it more of that crystal ball kind of look. Very wicked with the little frame and the crypt. There's that broom going across. So good. And then we have, oh yeah, the witch's secret. So great. There's a little bottle. Look at that tiny tag. See that little number 13? The skull, the bones, and then inside, it's like she's working on a spell, working on a potion. And definitely tiny lights. I mean, the purple bubbles are cool, but come on. You light those up. And you don't, if you're going to do alcohol ink on the bubbles, I would recommend just using white tiny lights. And I think that's what Jan did, because they are brighter and they'll throw more light through the color versus purple on purple, but you could, whatever you want. Then there's a little toadstool. I love how she alcohol inked that, a drippy candle, and then just doing Book of Spells and the bats. But not fabulous detail, but a great use for that globe where it now became part of a story. So it could be something, but I really love how it's attached to a book just to create that wickedly wonderful scene. Little Book of Spells, but yeah, how wonderful is that broom? Come on. Little moss tucked in there. Wonderful. Love it, Jan. So good. See, I'm a fan of tiny lights, and the cauldron is just a great make, and you can get components and just start here, just build. And if you don't want to use a vignette and make the book, put it on a book or put it on a box or put it on something you found. But I love the ideas of working with that, and the glass globe, absolutely beautiful. And I think that kind of, as I was sorting these, it just kind of became like the cauldron makes. So here Paula created this. This is another vignette, the whole divided drawer, but I love how she just focused the light here. Could you add tiny lights here? Yes, you could put tiny lights everywhere, but it just depends on where you want your eye drawn. And I think that's also very cool when you're telling a story. This is what I was talking about. Sometimes people want to just light up everything, but I love the effect here because it's super impactful, because we can kind of see the story, but it just starts here from time long passed away. And I love the whole outside cover of the backdrops. There's a tape, but here's our little scene. So we've got our cauldron with the bubbles. They're green, so you can see that they're totally visible. There's your drippy candle, a little bit of mummy cloth around there, a little color, a little grunge. Then we've got that library with the books. We've got him, the mad professor, and I do love that piece of ephemera back there. And then we've got the graveyard. But just look how that little piece of paper is cut and kind of bent in the back with the bats. That gives it a whole different level of depth. A little raven, a little bit of moss on there. But again, this is where tiny lights just become impactful for the story. You do you. You do what's going to work. That's what it's all about. Fringe is not going to come back. Sorry, it was too expensive to make, and it won't be. I just saw comments of like, bring it back. We just don't bring back stuff, but it's available, so get it if you can. But yeah, we just don't bring stuff back. It didn't last because it couldn't sustain either sales or production costs, and in that case, it was very too costly to do anymore. So anyway, beautiful, beautiful make. Yeah, we do see that every time with ideology. That is the time where it's like, I want this back so bad, and it just can't happen. So, all right. So
Stuff gotta go.
that's right. So bubbles, bubbles. This one, I hope I do it justice. I hope I'll get a little bit, but this one scared me when I picked it up because this, Luise created this one. And so you talk about bubbles. I don't even know how many packs of bubbles are in this. So this thing is heavy. I'm going to try to spin it around and then I'm just not sure how much I'm supposed to do or not do. And I know it lights up, but first let me just show you when it's not lit up. So this, again, another altered book, big altered book. There's just things everywhere, but take a look at like, first, I don't even know how those managed to stay up, but all these flowers and bubbles, we said like just so good. It all kind of stems from the cauldron and just like bubbling up through the whole book to create this enchanted dead of night scene. There's like that, there's a broom right there. I'm just going to keep flipping this around. Oh gosh, more bubbles. Oh, these are kind of coming up out of the barrel. Now this has tiny lights, but I studied the map. So one is hidden in a book. Let me see if I can find it. Fourth book. 1, 2, 3, 4. This book? Oh my gosh, there is a switch. Seriously. It's in that book right there. Look, that little book comes out of the shelf. That is sneaky. And then, so fourth book and under the table. Under the table. So here's the table. Oh, under the table. There you go. Oh, cool. You see that? So it's, I don't know if the camera's picking up, but these are like green that glows this and it kind of, there you go. It transcends all through here. Okay, that's just brilliant. There we go. Fourth book under the table. Here we are. So what we've got with this one, absolutely cool use of bubbles. So here we go. Okay. Oh, see, it looks so great illuminated. My word. So in here we've got, oh, there's that split portrait. Absolutely cool. Then we've got the trick-or-treaters, that little cat. We've got the skulls, the toadstools. Look at that. Little confections in the dead of night. See, I remembered because she sent me a little, it was almost like a little treasure map of find it here. I love it. Look at that. Look at that carved out book and that, just that split portrait. That's so brilliant. I love how this is all cut up and there's nails sticking out. It's so good. And just how things, it's so dimensional and just like, telling you, it's next level magic. Now, there are things, these things on the top come out. So she started with a book and then, oh, look at these. Look at those little inserts that she created just to create little art cards. Fabulous. Little ghostly card and then they go right back in the slot. But that's a cool use for all of these elements. I don't know which way it goes. I don't think it matters, but I'm going to take them all out. Oh, look at that. See? Very cool interactive thing for a book because it is, like Mario said, it's those little hidden features of it could be there and you can never take those things out and be completely happy. But this, like, so good. Look at that. So good. Oh my gosh.
I love seeing the stuff you find.
I know, it's like, it's like a whole little treasure hunt. But how fabulous is that? And just lit up with the purple tiny lights, a little candy, just so good. Yep. See how that, like, it's done. That's the thing. The toadstool's done, cat done. Just the finishes of ideology are just, they are magic. Obviously the makers just make all those things even more magical, but look at how many flowers, bouquet. It's like, oh my gosh, it's very Encanto to me. I love all that. All right, we get around to the back, check him out. There's a, oh wow, there's a clipboard. I was like, here's a clipboard clip. No, there's the clipboard. So there's distress crackle paste. Look at that crackly goodness. So that's a real crackle, Mario. There you go. That's distress crackly. Very good. But I love how the clipboard kind of became that art foundation for the back of this book. And just these brown bubbles bubbling up over the top. There we have that new little tiny dome. That's why we needed to bring them back because they are perfect for little skulls and, oh, so good. Little bottles, the bones, the flowers. There's a little tipped over thimble. Oh, I love how she colored the candy corn. Just notice that. Because, see, I could recognize candy corn from its traditional colors, but look at that. Black and purple and white. I like that one, too. I've seen that. It's yummy. It's really good. Seen that. I love that little bee that he's holding. It's like a beekeeper with all, like, the honey dripped. I don't know if he is, but it's just, the details are just fabulous. And then there's little bats coming up. It's so much fun. So much fun just to see all these little elements in ideology. Pure magic, right? Pure creative magic.
beautiful.
A collector of curiosities. Wow, all just done like, that's a lot of bubbles. And to ship all the way from Austria. Ship from Austria and it's here like in one piece. That's amazing. Luise, like really, seriously, just carving out that whole little cavern. Yep, carved caverns. There you go. Fab. So good, right?
Oh,
So
my.
good. So 13 or 31. Well, it's 31 is Halloween, but 13 is my favorite number, which is often unlucky. And that's why I think unlucky can be lucky. So you do whatever you want. That is a 13. And then there's 31 for Halloween. So yes, Halloween is October 31st. 13 is a lucky, unlucky number, depending on your perspective in life, right? Love that. So good. So
really
good.
beautiful.
Wow. Okay. Did I set that down? Whew. Yeah. We're in the home stretch. We have a few more makes, but these I save for the end because they are packed in detail and I just wanted to take my time. So, oh, there's a bubble. There's one. There you go. Okay. This one, Emma created this. I love this little scene. Again, this one has tiny lights. I love how that just, again, lights up just that one compartment of that. But the assembling of this, there's vignette elements. So this one right here, that's going to be that divided drawer. That's that long vignette. And then these vignette boxes. And then we've got, I'm guessing this is probably going to be an Etcetera panel. What a great foundation for the vignettes. But look how great Emma created this whole little Halloween scene. We've got this little box here. These little boys just standing in that room. I love the purple illumination looking through that shattered glass. We've got one of the gates. It's kind of busted open, and in there we have the books and the skull, our little trick-or-treat jack-o'-lantern. There's our bird cage. Those were last year. Those didn't come back. I love these. Again, that's one of the things that just became too expensive to make. But it's a wonderful little wire bird cage that I think I've seen some available. Little skull and bones, books. Oh, look at that. That's a little candle stand with a little ball on the top. One of the bubbles looks like a crystal ball. Beautiful. Oh, there's a hat on a stand. That's a little figure stand. See, it's like, what are we going to find? What's in that dome? Oh, these are, I don't know if there we go. That's better lighting. So here we've got the toadstools, idea-ology toadstools that Emma colored. Little red caps. So good. I love that lace trim in the back. It's kind of like a little parlor scene. Beautiful. Little spider on the bottles. And then when we get up to the top, oh, see? That's so good. All right. So this is one of the tiny vials. And then that's a little hand. That's from the Adornments Milagros charms that we had. But I love it's got like the hand coming out and she dripped. Kind of looks foundry wax-ish where it's just dripped down the side. I love that hand coming up out of the bottle. Then we have those apothecary vials. I love the bubbles at the top because if you have old apothecary jars, a lot of times it has just glass at the top instead of a cork. So I love that idea. Can you see it up there? I'm trying to get the light to cooperate. But up at the top, she used a bubble instead of the cork. Oh, then we have a little... See, I needed to turn that because he was stuck. We've got a little spider hanging there. Here, let me bring him forward. He's tucked back there. Look at this little spider. A little red spider detail. So good. He just kind of hangs there. What a cool, fun make. But very, again, very story where it's like, okay, I'm going through. And as a maker, you can approach this many, many ways. You could start with one vignette box. Let's say it's this, and you're like, I'm going to build a little library. And then you build that library and you add your gate and you're like, you know what? I'm going to add a second floor. I'm going to put these little guys just stuck in the attic of this library. Okay, I'll have this. And you're like, oh, you know what? Then let's show inside. So I think adding these little details are what makes everything really fun. It could be like an elevator shaft. You can do so many different things if you just let your imagination just wander. You don't necessarily need a plan from start to finish. I'm sure Emma had a plan, but for me, I would just start and build because you can always add on and just make the whole story continue. But that's a great thing about Halloween. You can really get your creep on and just let your imagination wander. And speaking of getting your creep on, I know Stacy did with this one. So Stacy created this. This is a witch scene. I'm going to try to spin around. It's got a lot of hangly-dangly things. Those things that kind of hang around. But
Hangly-dangly.
What?
That's new.
What's that?
You just said hangly-dangly.
Oh my gosh. See? And I wanted to say hanging and dangle at the same time.
You said it combined.
Well, there you go. Yes. It has little...
Hangly-dangly.
hangly dangly things. But inside, she said, is where the tiny lights are. Oh, yeah, there they are. See, they're hidden inside there. Oh, it's probably going to light up the cauldron. Let's see. Yes, the cauldron lights up green. Okay, so here, this is a whole little witch's story. And see these little brooms hang off the side? Okay, first I'm just going to like set it here so you can see the whole idea of this wonderful tall cabinet. Again, this is one of the divided drawers, but there's so much detail in this little witch cabinet because there's little papers that come out, little vintage papers. But I love it's like these two sisters probably are witches, grew up to be witches, and I love the use of the spiderweb. She sanded this transparency so it's very scratchy with the spiderweb. But look at all these little matchbox drawers that she created. So just taking, again, you can do paper or you can do the idea-ology matchbox. This is black texture paste. These are hitch fasteners to create like this little compartment. I love the toadstools coming out. It's like they were practicing their spells. I love the little bird. Again, that's one of the retired, I think that was treasures. Look at the busted up bones inside that globe. How cool. Because see, now that those bones are resin, you can just snap them in half. Ooh, look at that. Look, there's a bird nest in there. Ooh, look at that. So those are little eggs. Those are the eggs that we launch at Easter. I love seeing that in a Halloween make. Yes. Cool little bird nest. Maybe that's the whole idea of the bird. Maybe it's for one of their spells. Ooh, I love that. And then, oh, there's our cauldron. Again, grungy with a little grit paste crimp. You can take crayon or paint to add color. There's the bubbles. More little drawers for that matchbox dresser. I love the dice. I do love vintage dice. I've always wanted to put dice in ideology, but they're just, as crazy as it sounds, they're just too expensive. But yeah, old dice. I love these little salvage dolls, but these are vintage frozen Charlotte heads and those little crowns, the books. See, it's so odd and eclectic, but it's perfect for the storytelling of the witches. And take a look at this. So here she's got those brooms. Oh my gosh. So good to have the side of that. There's your backdrops. Taking the Stampers Anonymous, those are the Etcetera trims to make a shelf. And look at those brooms just hanging there. And they're just hanging on the little nails. Yeah, with a little bit of string as we go around. See, I love the ledge. Ooh, look at that. Look at that spider. She created webs out of thread, her own cobweb, and then tied that spider to it. That is cool. That's cool. See, you've seen this frame used so many different times on a make, but wow, that's yummy. Love the little tiny vials and the drippy candles. More nails in the back. Who knows what they're going to hang on those, right? And then here, see, look at those little tiny vials, little crackle. I love the idea of stuff hanging off of those tack nails and using the trim as all these shelves. Because this, again, this is Etcetera trim, but you can cut it just using your knife. And she also just made it look like old wooden planks, probably just gouging into the edges. But see, it's the interaction. It is the little hangly-dangly things. It is the hangly-danglies, right? The nuggety bits, the hangly-danglies, right? The nuggety bits. All right. You get the idea, but very, very cool. And I do love, because I'm sure in the dark, just having that little glow of the green cauldron is just phenomenal. Such a cool make, right? Because that whole thing just stands up. I love this structure just because it's so tall and it allows you to tell a story, like when Tami did the candy and all that. It's just, yeah, so good. So good with all the things. Right, because it's like, okay, I'll do this, and oh, drippy candle, maybe I'll put one up with a fork like Tami did. It's about taking those ideas, jotting them down, and just, it's brilliant, really. So brilliant. I love all these little layers. Yeah, Stacy and the shabby details, so good. Yeah. Sounds like a TV series. Stacy and the shabby details. Or that could actually be like a rock band. So it could be a musical band. There you go, Stacy, if you ever want to start a rock band. Call it Stacy and the Shabby Details. All right. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, my brain just, at some point it starts to short circuit and you guys are just along for the ride. Okay. So Paula created this fabulous panel. This also has tiny lights back here. See, Paula does tiny lights like I do. You just stick it on. It's easier. But hey, I love that the makers go and hide them up. So here, this is a vignette panel. So you saw when we started the live, Paula did the same type of panel, but use the other side. This is what's really great about this vignette structure is that it has enough dimension that you can work on the front and hang it up on the wall, or it can stand on its own. But I also love that it does create a beautiful scene inside. It's it's just deep enough for so many little trinkety things. I just noticed that. I saw this sneak peek yesterday, and I'm like, I can't wait to see the make. And to be honest, I thought I may have already skipped it, but there it is. I'm so glad to find. I'll talk about this in a second. So here, I love the window and just that glowy cast of purple lights. Again, when the lights are off, these cast a totally different type of glow. But there she is behind the window. I love the spider web. That's such a great transparency to have included. I love the little bits of hardware heads on the window because it just gives it more of an industrial look. These are idea-ology. You just glue them on. So good. But I really love this backdrop. It just kind of has this whole wallpapered, I don't know, this room. This kind of story room, whether you're looking inside or out. But look at this collection of curiosities, all right? I really love how the makers have used toadstools this year in so many different colors, right? Greens and reds and purples, and so cool. All right, what do we, oh, see, these are bouquet flowers, these wonderful little black eroda flowers. Oh, look, I love how she painted the candles black and white. See? Having drippy candles for a couple of seasons, now they just start changing them up. I love that. And then we've got one of her favorite pieces, that little twisted branch. And I love the use of the frame and the photo. So you saw that make where Paula used this over this, but I also love that he's kind of like fallen out of the frame, like in an attic. But this was the detail that I found fabulous. This is an idea-ology pocket watch. So these are watches. They come in two sizes, removable back, but the front is glass. And when I saw the sneak peek, I'm like, oh, that's clever. She used one of the shattered transparencies over, and I'm like, no, it looks like she whacked it with a hammer, and she did. Like, that's actually cracked, and I love that detail, right? So you have the pocket watch. You want to make it kind of creepy. I love the little entomology insect in there, all the elements, but then cracking the glass, so good. And then a little bit of distress. This looks kind of like black texture, because see, that opaque black just gives it such good little schmutz in there. Very good. I love the little books, right? Little numbers. And then again, those tack nails, you guys have seen those used a lot. They're just really fun. This is the first time really, I think, and I've noticed it in several makes, just that ephemera just tacked in there like a wanted poster. Cool. There's our skull with that little crown. Again, that little crown I think was from Treasures Adornments. I think that was a retired adornment SKU as well. A little bit of wire. There's a little spider coming around. He's very cool. And then we've got that raven sitting on the top. But fab details, right? So just the ability to go in and actually use those elements are just so good. So good. I know people are saying we need a package of crowns. Tried that, but yeah, it didn't play out. But cool. Cool make. I love it. I do. I love the details. I love the stories. That to me is my favorite thing.
How you doing?
All right, I'm doing good.
Good.
Yes, look at these. Okay, I'm turning over here because this is a double hander. All right, let me move this over here.
Get all your.
I know.
I'll get
Well,
everything for you.
no, well this one's like, I picked this up. I remember setting this up.
Oh
This,
gosh, that is so heavy.
oh my gosh, just blows my mind. All right, get ready. So Vicki created this. Okay. This thing, it weighs. It kind of like weighs like Luise's book does. It's good. But when I saw this, I messaged Vicki. I'm like, you must have used like 5 years worth of idea-ology Halloween in here because it's just packed. Here's what is so cool. I love things with cubbies. I do. I love little cubby boxes. Okay. And it took me a minute to understand what this was because I was like, oh, I love how she divided up that panel. The panel I just showed you that Paula did. And I'm like, no, it's deeper than a panel. Like, what's this all about? This is actually 3 of those divided drawers stuck together to make a 9-up compartment. That is cool. In all the years that we've had these, I don't remember ever seeing them used like this. I think that's just very cool. And I think it's great for a make, but it's also a great idea if you ever wanted to just display little knickknacks in your studio, make a curio out of 3 of those boxes because, you know, you can create so much texture and effect. Now, Vicki, she is all about the grunge. It doesn't matter what kind of backdrop paper we use. That's just a starting point for Vicki because she's going to go full on grunge. There's going to be, yeah, layers of grit, layers of crackle. So this finish that you see, this is all done with distressed products that Vicki just She really loves the authenticity of cracks and rust and grunge, and she just does it like that could be a profession, really. Replicating time worn finishes, just amazing. But inside here, so this is done with grit paste glow, and I know Vicky's going to post some photos of this glowing. It glows like crazy because there is glow everywhere. There's glow inside here. This whole little catacombs, this is all glowy. The drippy candles glow, toadstools, these skulls in here. But let's go through block by block, okay? So first we can see these wonderful wood numbers. I think these letterpress numbers are very, very cool. I love how she cut that with a saw. Then she has a little grit paste glow inside that cat and then some candy in the bones. This is all mummy cloth. So when you ask like how to use it, like I said, makers just tuck it in everywhere. It's so, so good. This, look at all the, so when you look at the skulls and you kind of see that crusty look, even in their eye sockets, some of them, that's all glow. So this thing glows like it's amazing. It's so crazy. This one's creepy. I love definitely something dreadfully wicked. Just it's creepy, creepy cool. This, I love this because this is taking everyday ideology and crossing it over with Halloween. So we have these gears, right? The industrial gears. We have the gauge frames, which I love. But there's that photo that we put in the layers. You can see that little shattered transparency. So I love the idea of looking at like a busted out glass gauge. So when you look at like a steam gauge, how the glass is busted, I love how Vicki used the transparency. The skull sticker, those are gauge dials. That's everyday ideology. But just, I love how it's all sitting on just this grungy background. And there is the crossbones adornment. So taking that, gluing it onto everyday stuff, it's now a custom Halloween embellishment. All right, let's see what's in this one. I'm looking through my phone just to see. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I thought it was 3 glass domes, but take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to turn in the light so you can see it. So here, she took a candle stand. So this is from the Manor, but then added the ideology bird cage. You know the bird cage that I showed in Emma's make? I said this retired last year. These are some of my favorites. It's actually a metal bird cage with wire that you can bend and twist, but I love how the cage sits on that stand. That's perfect. And then she has a little entomology insect that's got some grit paste glow, and then she uses the tiny domes to put more of those insects in, like little specimens. See, that's poison, cool. Caution, but very cool. I love the whole idea of like, you know, they're encased, and then this is just kind of crawling out of that cage. Oh, good. All right, then we have the cauldron. I love the cauldron with the toadstools coming out of it, these little poison bottles. So these are apothecary vials. These are amber vials, and then these are tiny vials. They're really tiny cork vials. You saw them in a lot of different makes. So the scale of these embellishments is always important for ideology. Little mummy cloth strewn in the back. And then, again, you can see mummy cloth back there, but look at all these drippy candles. Now, here's the thing. Drippy candles, if you followed the original tutorial from Tami, it's using hot glue to create the drips, but of course, these are resin. But if you want to put them together and you plan to paint them, a great way is just to get your hot glue and kind of glue and go a little waxy, and then do your painting and your finish so they kind of look melted together. So that's really cool. But I just love how that grit paste glow looks without it glowing. You know, it's a cool color. It's that weird little chalky, kind of greenish, but yeah, it glows like crazy. Oh, cool. That's the other half of the guy. That reminds me on that scene, for those that go to Disneyland, on Pirates. You know, when you float by that guy where you see half and half, that's so cool. So there's another gear, another one of those gauge frames, and the other half of that guy that was up here just revealed. And again, the skull, just so many great details. So good behind that shattered transparency. I'm glad I got 36 because I love the shattered just behind these gauge frames because I love these dials. And I love that that's glass. Again, more skulls. So really, when you count like how many skulls were used, I love the skulls just stacked up in here. So this one, of course, is now went from the tiny dome to that small size. And I love that stack of skulls, just big enough that you can put more than one thing in there. There's that seal. And again, mummy cloth, it's a good fill in the blanker. That's why makers stock up on mummy cloth so they can use it all year. It's really good.
The shattered looks really cool on there.
Oh, I just noticed that. Look at that.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, see, thanks for pointing that out, Mario.
Sure.
Look at you, see?
I'm just watching.
He's watching the lives. I love that. So here, by putting, that's so clever, Vicki.
I unpacked it, I didn't see it.
By putting the transparency inside the dome, it looks like it's busted out. That is definitely, come on.
That is brilliant.
Because see at my finger, I'm like, I want to think that there's a hole in there, but there isn't. Can you guys see that detail? I'm trying to get it to there. That is so cool.
Here, look over here, and then you'll see just how to tip it, because I see it here, how perfect it is.
It's so good.
Look at that.
Yep.
That glass looks totally cracked.
Yeah, so there you go. Shattered transparency inside the dome. Boom. Very clever. Very clever. And then we've got 13. So see, 13, 31. I saw a few people ask, I'm like, why is it so confusing? 31, Halloween, 13, unlucky but balanced. So good.
So many people said
So
13
creepy.
is lucky, though, for them.
I agree. It's my lucky number. It's my favorite. I love that number. You'll see a lot of 13s in ideology for that reason, just because I like to put them in there. Look at that. Look at that grit paste glow in his eyes. Good. With the confections and the bones. So cool. Love the balance of that, the numbers. But you see, like, wow. Just the idea. So you can take this totally creepy gothic, or you can go in and just take these three things and just start filling them in. And you could glue stuff or you can change it out. I love the idea, really, this little cubby, because it's so perfect. It's absolutely beautiful. We won't show the glow in live because we don't, the camera doesn't like that, but Vicki has a photo because, yeah, I know it's a good photo, so she'll have it. Beautiful. Yeah, you're right, Mario. I'm running to order more shattered, especially after that. Okay. 2 more makes. But they're good. We're in the home stretch. So this one, this is just, this remarkable. I mean, when I saw what Vicki did with those boxes and Jan created this one, I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen vignettes used in such remarkable ways, really. So Jan created this. It's like this entire curio. So it lights up. We got tiny lights on the back. She has a little paper pocket. So let me light this up and you're going to see that it's a lot of green. Look at that beautiful green back there. I love it. So what's cool about this, okay, is that starts out with just this piece right here. I'm just looking. These are 2 vignette boxes. So these are vignette boxes and then vignette box, vignette box, vignette box. So gluing all these together, really cool. But we did size these windows. Several of the windows are designed to fit some of the vignette boxes, because if you wanted to create this, we wanted that to be doable. But there's some really great features besides how fabulous this is that I think is so unique of how makers think similar, but also so different. So I love the idea of so many matchboxes being used by the makers, just for the little drawers like Stacy did. And I love what Jan did in this cabinet. This piece right here, because she did send me a message just to call this out, and I thought it was a great idea, because I just thought that she stuck, because these 2 baseboard pieces are separate. So we have the arch and we have this. Oh, that's going to be glow. That's going to glow at night. I can tell by the color. That's going to be cool. So this piece and the window are separate, but I thought she just like glued it on the top. But this is one of the facades, the Etcetera facades that she used. And I love how those 2 pieces fit over that facade perfect, because the facade has a cutout. But here's the other thing I thought cool. We've seen shattered used on a lot of things, but I don't know if you can tell if the camera's really picking it up, but see how hers are like dirty, cloudy? So instead of it being, so see how like it diffuses the bottles back there? This is where you take the matte collage medium and smear it over the transparency and let it dry, because it's going to dry with a matte finish that creates that foggy haze over the transparency. So if you don't want the transparency to be shiny like this, you can use collage medium and it just creates that perfect dull matte. I love how this lock wants to go through the busted glass. But here she used the lock and the key around those windows. But then inside we've got the bottles. See that little collage medium? It's a cool effect, right? It makes it very eerie. We're like, what's in there? It's very, very good. And then we've got the little books from Ephemera. We've got the little bottles, and they're the matchboxes. So matchboxes, those are these. Just inspired by matchboxes, but one of them made out of paper. One of them really kind of flexible that you can alter. So you can do regular matchboxes and empty out the matches, but that's what these are. And they just create some really cool, just little drawers and little nooks to put things. There's a little tombstone. I love the rolled up paper, the books, but I like how the lights kind of are peeking out of the drawer as well. There's a skull. Oh, you see that spider hanging in there? See, I love things that catch my eye. A little movement catches my eye. the bones in the dome. There's that little cat. Let me turn it so you can see what's in there. So there's one of those branch charms, and then we've got just, I love those little curly-Q pieces. I know that Jan created those. I love those little curly-Qs. I think they're just done out of collage medium. I think she said collage medium and maybe some cotton. I don't know. It's beautiful. I love the swirls. I love this owl too. Just that he's just kind of creeping. And he also really camouflages the seam of the boxes, which is brilliant. And then inside, just some, there's bats flying in there, wallpaper. There's another dome in the glass. Gosh, it's like, it's incredible. Oh, so here's a great spot just to kind of show you. So here you can see where she kept this area clean and then did the collage medium around it. So see how like, it's as if you kind of cleaned off a dirty window, so there must be something in there. Oh yeah, there's an owl in there. You see him? So that's just another thing. You could cover the whole thing if you want, but you can also put it on, but then leave an area clean, and then it looks like you cleaned off the schmutz. But that's just it's a great use of shattered. And then we have the drippy candles. Again, more drips just using hot glue. And then we have those portraits. See that sticker book? It's got some great stuff in it this year. Besides the masks and the skulls and the hats, I do love those portraits. Those were fun to add. And then we've got just some little bottles and sticks. It's just such a wild imagination where you just, this whole cabinet of curiosities where you can just see how, I don't know, how amazing it is.
It's just beautiful.
It's so cool.
I love shattered.
And
I don't even make.
I know. It's like, you just want to start putting on things.
Yeah.
You can put one on your phone screen and then maybe that'll help deter it. Yeah. All right. So we got one more make. Now this one, I mean, I think all the makers are amazing. They always just kind of stump me. And Tami B, time after time, and I think it's just like this, I don't know if it's this internal challenge or this internal kind of, I don't know, magic. But first things first, I'm going to switch cameras just to show you the scale of it, right? Then we'll get into the details. But this is the final make for Idea-ology Halloween. So take a look at this make, guys. This, I mean, you can see how big it is compared to me. But Tami B created this entire thing based off of, I'm guessing, Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, because there's even the little jail cell with the bones. Now, there are tiny lights. They're under here, so I'm gonna light it up because it lights up like several. Oh, look, see, it lit up the little jail cell here. Then there's another one over here. I'm like feeling under here, and this one, oh, this one lights up like this little storefront here. So there's two tiny lights. But holy crap, I can tell by the barrels already. All right, so we're gonna get into details up close, but oh my gosh, there's a cannon. Okay, cannonballs, here we go. We're going in. All right, so this make Tami B created, and it starts off as the foundation. Look at, there's the cannon right there. A vignette display panel, okay? That's the foundation, but she went in and created like stone, the whole effect, and I'm probably gonna I'm gonna just talk about as much as I can. Okay, first we're gonna talk about the cannon because there is a cannon scene. Oh my gosh, there's a ship wheel, a little captain's wheel. Okay, oh my gosh. So, because I know what it's made out of. So that's, I think, what blows my mind. So this is a gear, an Idea-ology gear. These are hitch fasteners glued on to make that captain's wheel. And then she's got the crossbones as an adornment. So that's what's crazy, like just the imagination. I love all the wood finish because that's using just the backdrops. So these cannonballs, those are bubbles, but I'm guessing that's why she loves grit paste crypt so much. Hold on. This is a bottle. This is a corked vial. I'm sure of it. Hold on. I'm looking. I've got my whole little... Yep. Look at that. Stop it right now. That's a cannon made out of a bottle. Jeez.
Oh my
Look at that. And then a hitch fastener at the end. I love the little cannonballs. We're just on the top floor of this thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Then, gosh, I hate to tip this, but I know that she makes up pretty indestructible. Okay. Then we have this scene right here. So take a look at this whole little storefront. These are Idea-ology resin barrels, but I love how she stuck two together to make actual barrels. right? Normally these are sliced in half. You saw in Luise's make how she had all the bubbles coming up. I love how Tami stuck two together and actually made the barrels. What? Come on. Then the drippy candle over the skull. So see, hot glue can just have that, make it look like that candle is going wherever you want. But the attention to detail, really, if you're a fan of the attraction, that's why I'm geeking out, because I am. I've noticed those little nuances. Here, that's a little backdrop of that owl cigar, but I love that it's on the Etcetera trim. Oh my gosh. And then the hanging sign. So this right here is a piece that's in the baseboards. That's that little frame that you pop out. But look at that little raven just sitting there, where she created that little hanging sign. Then we've got the doors in there. I love all these tipped over bottles, little bottles of rum that are just everywhere. She's got a little cabinet back there. Can you guys see? There you go. There they are. See back here? Look at all those little bottles of rum that she created. So good. And the little table. Oh, there's a drippy candle right here. Another little, oh, there's her little fork. There's a little bent fork. And see, I love these extra drips with hot glue and paint. It just, doesn't it give it like such a whole different vibe when you add that extra glue? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then,
beautiful.
But even the details where she's got like the hammered metal right on that vignette, just to really give it that whole piratey thing. Okay, I'm turning again. Wow. She makes to last. Okay. Oh, see? I'm so glad she did that. I was just talking about that. Oh, there's a lantern in there. Yay! Tami, you're my hero. I just thought about that at the end. I'm like, oh, no one used one of the lanterns, and I love the lantern. All right, let me grab one. I have one over here because I was going to make with it, and then I ran out of time, like everything else.
Can I help you?
I'm just trying to grab this lantern. Here, can you handle that?
Yeah.
I'm like one hand on Tami's make and one hand in a lantern, just so you can see it. Okay. These idea-ology lanterns, because you can put tiny lights in them, okay? But look, that's what's in there is a lantern, and I'm going to see if I can, let you see, there it is. I love it. I love that. Oh, okay. So here's where she took that baseboard and cut that to create that crate, see? By just using cutting off the window part, it's a wood crate. I love the illuminated lantern with the keyhole. I love all that cracked paper. And then we get down to the bottom. There's that creepy portrait. There are those frames. So these frames, these are made out of chipboard, but they have this metallic finish already on it. You can, of course, grunge it up more, but I love that. And then we have these candlesticks. See, just like on the attraction, just all the pirate coins. And I love how she made all this treasure. She used all these little rhinestones. These are from, oh my gosh, these are from assemblage, those rhinestones. But I love the candlesticks where they're painted brass, probably some foundry wax. And there's another little sconce. Look at that. Oh, Mario's got a little, he lit up the lantern. There you go. Thanks, Mario. See, it's got a hole through the acrylic, so you can put the tiny lights in there to light it up. That's how it's designed. So that just comes right out. So this one, I kind of wrapped 3 of them. But yeah, they're fun. So beautiful. But look at that with the damask paper. Woo-wee. All right. And we're getting around. This is just, come on. Okay. Look at that. That's a little, see, I'm not this Mr. Nautical, but is that like a ship mast? Is that what they call it? Right? The big old wooden thing with the bucket at the top, the little lookout tower, but look how it's all busted. And then she used mummy cloth. Oh, these are little, oh my gosh. Okay. You see these? These are the twigs from the broom that she used them for like little weeds where she took, I could just tell, because where do you find the tiniest little dried sticks like this? And she stuck them in the ground. Oh my gosh, stop it right now. Okay, but look at that, where it snapped and busted just like on the attraction, and it busted through the window, so now we have the shattered window. There's a portrait in there, it's probably a portrait. There we go. Just, it's like the movie. I swear, I feel like I'm in the movie. Because inside every little room, it's like, it's hard for, I hope I'm really doing this make justice, because there's so many different nuances depending on how you, like where you look. Again, just like a Disney attraction, everywhere you look, you're seeing something amazing. That little shutter, and then my favorite scene, which of course is the jail cell. So here, okay, so this is the paper. What is this? I mean, I'm guessing, but that just seems awfully crazy. This looks like each one of these bricks from the paper, because this is paper, was cut out and then glued on, and then grouted in between. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what she did, but that's an incredible amount of time. But that's how the bricks match the bricks, and then match the bricks inside the cell. And look inside there, there's the chain. Can you guys see? Oh no, you can't, I'm not when I'm off camera. There's a chain in there, and then there's all these bones, and then we've got that lock and key, and just how these are all gridded up to look rusty. Those are the new Halloween gates.
Tami
and
said,
the lock.
yes, I cut them out and grouted them.
Of course you did. See, like, because I'm like, that's not a paste. It matches perfect. So she cut out the bricks and then just not only glued them, but then she grouted in between each one. Let me see if you can see that. See that? Oh my gosh. That's why she loves Grit Paste Crit, because it is a great, great medium. And there's another drippy candle. But I mean, come on. Fabulous, right? Every make is just, you can't even imagine. Like, I could never imagine this. And I'm sure everyone at Advantis and Paula would agree, like, when we see makes, when we see things come together, that's magic.